star today.
CBS Sports Radio.
Well, as I was saying, I was listening to the radio, I heard something.
And what did you hear?
A hissing sound like this.
Hey, T.A. Hey, D.A., let me aboard that mothership.
Permission to board that mothership, sir.
Well, you know I had to slide through the intergalactic swag party. D.A., man, beam me up. What's going on, my brother from another mother? Beam me up. You guys are the best. You guys make it
Permission to board that mothership.
Mothership has connected.
And you the man, D.A.
Happy Tuesday to you, North America. The mothership has connected. Welcome aboard. It's the 4-hour Constellation Kegger. DA with you from the CBS Sports Radio studios in New York, broadcasting to affiliates nationwide and north of the border. Anchorage to Atlanta, Detroit to Dallas, Kalamazoo and Waterloo way are on the air.
They listening, D.A. Everything we saying, D.A. Everything.
And we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan studios. When you need an expert to help navigate the home loan process, Rocket can. Hey, thanks so much for being with us, everybody. It's a Trash Tuesday. What is it that's eating you? What is it that's annoying you? What is it that you need to vent about? Today is your day. Throughout the show, tweet at me, and I'll read through your trashes over the course of the next 4 hours. Also, you can dial me up to trash on the air as well. Here are your lifelines for your trashings. On Twitter, follow me and tweet at me, DA on CBS. Again, that's DA on CBS. On the phones, hit me up at 855-212-4227. This morning on the show, there's a great story in college football, as opposed to a lot of the bad news surrounding college football, a lot of the sky is falling talk surrounding college football. How about St. Thomas of Minnesota, a Division III powerhouse that was so good, their conference essentially said, look, you don't have to stop playing, but you got to get the hell on out of here. They were too good. They were so dominant that St. Thomas made the jump from Division III to D1. We're going to talk to their AD coming up here from St. Thomas. Phil Eston is going to join us coming up in hour number 3. Imagine making the jump in 1 year from D3 to D1. Incredible. Also, we'll do our trashes coming up here a little over an hour from now. We will dissect and analyze whether Dan Snyder could lose his team over the recent fallout from the Washington Post expose. Antonio Brown may have retired for good. Do we believe him, and should we care? A Bulls rookie just put their head coach on blast. Could human analysis save the college football season and the playoff? And are the bubbles the safest place on earth? It's magical. All of that coming up this morning here on the show. But we begin with the NFL. Hey, more good news. If you're looking for good news, the sports world actually is providing that these days. Yesterday, we talked about how over the weekend, so many of the NFL stars spoke up and spoke out against the NFL and what they viewed as murky, unclear, unfocused safety precautions. Well, the NFL heard them. The owners heard them. The commissioner heard them and snapped to it, because yesterday there was major movement on the front of safety and agreement. Yesterday, the NFL and the NFLPA agreed to testing protocols. They agreed that for the first 2 weeks of camp, we've got training camp set to begin for the entire league coming up in a week. That's right, the beginning of next week, July 28th, we have training camp set to open. We have now got protocol agreed upon by both sides. In the first 2 weeks of training camp, the NFL players will be tested every single day. And that you will need more than only one negative test to re-enter team facilities. So, first 2 weeks, you get tested every single day. If you're negative once, that's fine. You've got to have a second negative before you are allowed back. Now, this is pretty big, number one, because they are going to test and turn around the results within a day every single day. And they are going to have an agreement. They're going to do this for the first 2 weeks. And so kind of like we've seen from the NHL, kind of like we've seen from the early testing of the NBA and Major League Baseball, right now the testing numbers look good for these athletes. Not a lot of positives, which is awesome, which is huge. Not only huge for the safety of all of these human beings, which is the most important, but also the restart of sports, which we are all hoping and rooting for. Another breakthrough yesterday where the owners heard the players. They had a 2 preseason game schedule set up, and then they went down to 1 preseason game. The players still wanted none, 0 preseasons. And reportedly, the NFL heard them on that and went from 4 to 2 to 1. And apparently the NFL has made an offer to players for 0 preseason games. Now, this is really unique because the NFL, owners, and commissioner, the league office, has been notoriously hard to negotiate on the players. That these two sides have not been ever on the same wavelength, and rarely, if ever, has the league side bent to the wishes of the players. But the players wanted hard and fast safety protocols, and they wanted 0 preseason games, and it sounds and looks like they got both. So, do we have right now a kinder, gentler NFL? It is where we begin the cold open.
The NFL has relented again on the preseason games, and just within the last 15 minutes, they reportedly agreed to daily testing for at least the first couple weeks of training camp. So
that's great.
It seems that the players are getting more and more of what they want, but that's on the health and safety stuff. I'll be really interested to hear what happens with the financial stuff and the smoothing of the cap, because it's so funny, because that's what the owners always care about.
I don't believe it!
The most amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending.
It's DA's top story.
Here he goes.
It's your cold open.
That's Ross Tucker, NFL analyst, former NFL player on Tiki and Tierney right here on CBS Sports Radio yesterday, and he brings up an important point here. This is safety and wellness. This is not financials. And my guess is, not to be too cynical here, but I think the owners are going, hey, if we need to bend somewhere, bending on health and wellness serves two masters here. Number one, we get a league started and we play football. That's good for us. And then the second part of that is we then go to the players and say, hey, we gave you everything you wanted from health and wellness, and now you've got to give us something that we want on the financial end. That's my guess here, not to be too cynical, but my guess is that's why the owners are doing this, because we rarely, if ever, see the owner simply say, yeah, you know what, good idea, we're going to give that to you. But I also think this, that first part, getting the league back. The NFL's league office has operated with the clear directive since February. Since this started to circulate and since March, when the sports world and the country and the world in general shut down. And that is, we will play football. Whatever it takes, whatever rocks we unturn, whatever decisions we have to make, whatever protocol we have to implement, it's going to be football as normal. Now, it doesn't sound like we're going to have fans, but we're going to operate the football schedule as normal. We're going to have free agency as normal, the draft as normal. We're not going to gather for that, but a virtual draft. We're going to have the offseason executed as normal outside of joining one another in person for workouts, but training camp's going to start at the same time, and we're going to have the preseason played, and we're going to have the regular season played. Now, they have apparently stripped away the preseason, but they have hit all of their traditional benchmarks in terms of timing. I think the NFL has realized one thing, that if they play football, not only do they get to keep all of their millions, but also I think they've been playing this out as we get to save America. I really wonder if there's a bit of a God complex here when it comes to the NFL and maybe Roger Goodell, because I think they felt as though if we just act normally here, we will be seen as heroes, and that's an even bigger win, bigger piece of the pie for us. Because the NFL, since Roger Goodell took over, has had one very clear goal here. Their North Star is increase revenue every single year. And they've done so by expanding their fan base or trying to expand their footprint, whether it is with the female audience here in the States, whether it is international audience, other countries, expanding NFL Europe, more games on TV, more primetime affairs, more marketability for the players, more media outlets involved. They have tried every which way to increase the pie. You know how you increase the pie in a COVID world? You play the hero. And I think they saw also what Major League Baseball did by playing the villains and said, we're going to go the other way on this. I mean, look, the NFL owners, again, don't oftentimes just lay down and say, yeah, you know what the players want? We're just going to give them. And they've given them, within 24 hours, the safety protocol that they wanted and offered no preseason games. That's a pretty big swing. The NFL realizes their pie grows if they play hero, and they're doing it. And they can also ask on the back end from the players some financials back, having acquiesced to their wants now. But you know what? That's great for us. If you're asking me what's good for us, it's this. It's the NFL owners and players not fighting tooth and nail like baseball, dragging their feet, and not having a game plan. I mean, if they come together and they've got a training camp July the 28th, 29th, if they have training camp starting early next week, who cares if there's preseason? It just means that they are back at facilities, working out, conditioning, and getting ready for the weekend after Labor Day, which is all we care about. Preseason, I sneeze at the preseason. Nobody cares about the preseason. We don't need the preseason. We've got everything else going on in August. We've got the NBA playoffs. We've got the Stanley Cup final and the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. We've got, obviously, Major League Baseball playing. We don't need preseason football in August. So the NFL realizes all of this leads them to their pile of money at the end of the rainbow, and they're going to do it. And we say, huzzah! Congrats! Thank you! Just get this season going. Hit me up, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. On Twitter, DA on CBS. Mraz, there's not a doubt in my mind that Roger Goodell and the 32 owners looked at baseball and said, let's not do that.
And how refreshing is that? How refreshing was all the news yesterday to come out of the NFL, to be self-aware, to understand the things that we could fight with the players about that the players want are just simply not worth fighting about. So why not play hero? Why not play nice? This will work better in future CBAs. And also, DA, you just brought up everything we're going to have on TV in August. It's called being self-aware if you're Roger Goodell. Those national TV preseason games, or even in the local markets, simply aren't worth it when you consider, okay, the fans have other stuff to go with, but what is worth it is not screwing up this regular season and making sure you start on time, especially for your primetime games. And the reason I bring that up, just yesterday, DA, they finally were able to resume TV and film production in the New York City area. They are doing so as well in California. And why that's important? Most of the network TV shows that come out for the fall runs have already announced they will either come out in November or some are waiting till January, meaning if the NFL wasn't already winning the fall ratings all over the place, there will be zero competition for them Monday nights, Thursday nights, Sunday nights, and that TV revenue, I would think for advertising, could get even larger. More money to be spent on their commercials because all eyes will be on the NFL in the fall, and they cannot screw that up.
That's an interesting little nugget there. So you're telling me that the primetime shows won't have new content. We'll see reruns, old stuff right through the fall, no earlier than like November, Thanksgiving, or maybe into January. So the NFL has all these primetime windows to themselves with brand new, fresh content.
That was a lot of the buzz yesterday as shows and stuff like that began to be able to film again. They are so far behind that many are going to alter the way fall TV programming is. We're usually, ready around the NFL for that mid-September debut of a lot of shows, sometimes early October. Many cases when they usually go away for a little bit, that's when you might get some around late November, and some are just saying, you know what, we're going to wait till the winter begins after the holidays in January. Film everything, get all our editing done. There's so much that goes into it. So the NFL always is the top TV show in the fall, all of these things, but all of their competition that finishes right behind them in all the weeks, a lot of those major shows will not be there competing with the NFL.
Oh, could you imagine the numbers on Chiefs games or on Buccaneers games in prime time when there's no other TV that has fresh content? What type of gargantuan television rating numbers that the NFL will do? Oh, my goodness.
Incredible. So they know they can't screw this up and have training camp not start on time and suddenly they're a couple weeks behind. They have a big cash cow ahead of them in this NFL regular season, maybe more so than we've ever seen.
And we'll get to this later on in the morning, but if you are wondering, boy, can the NFL pull this off? Well, the good news is testing is coming back very few positives, for hockey, baseball, and basketball right now. So the athletes are doing their part. The bubbles are safe. And these facilities apparently are safe as well, which means that the NFL has a lot to like in terms of their potential, at least at the outset, to get in the season started on time. When we come back, sound check, your best audio of the day, including an NBA player saying, "Suck it up and shut up about the bubble." DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
CBS presents this program in color.
An educated person can't think he's going to get a recruit by strippers coming in.
They can fire you, but they can't eat you.
And they run through our ass like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them.
The audio you need to hear. It's DA Soundcheck.
Remember, you can watch the DA show every single day on your phone. Just go to watchda.com. Just type that into your URL, into your browser. You can watch the show on any device, anywhere. Watchda.com. We begin with LeBron, who believes he's got a strong case for MVP this season.
As far as the MVP race, I think I show what I'm capable of doing. Not only individually, but from a team's perspective, us being number one in the West. There was a lot of conversation about, LeBron can do those things in the East, but if he ever came to the West, what can he do? I heard all of that. And to be able to have our team at the top of the Western Conference and playing the way that we were playing at that time and the way I was playing, that's definitely a good feeling.
As I said yesterday, it's a joke how few MVPs LeBron has won over the course of his career. He could have had an MVP twice as many times as he has won it. He hasn't won one since 2013. Very obviously, you could hand him that award most years, specifically since then. But ultimately, this year, whether he wins the MVP or not, which he likely will not because Giannis will, if LeBron gets the championship, the NBA Finals, the Larry O'Brien Trophy, that's what really matters, as it is every season. Because if LeBron wins one this year, yes, it'll be a weird, uncommon, atypical NBA championship, but it's going to be a tough one, and it's going to be a unique one. It would have happened in the season that Kobe passed away, and for his third team. LeBron would have won 3 championships with 3 different franchises. A remarkable feat. So the MVP would be nice for LeBron. You could give it to him just about every single year. He's had a phenomenal season before the stoppage, but it's all about a championship for LeBron this year, as it is most seasons for him. Now, speaking of the NBA, how about the bubble down in Orlando in the wide world of Disney? We've got all of the NBA players inside the bubble, staying at these hotels and resorts, playing a little bit of golf. I've seen them do a little fishing off of the bridges around Disney World. Here is Thunder big man Steven Adams saying, "Shut your trap if you're complaining about this."
It's all good, mate. Let's be clear, mate. This is not Syria, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that hard. It's not that difficult, mate. You know what I mean? We're living in a bloody resort. You know, everyone's got to complain. Everyone has their own preferences, mate. But you know, it's not anything too serious. It's just a bit of dry food here and there, and get bored every now and then. But it's all good, man. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool because you actually get to interact with a couple of the other teams, players on the other teams, you know. So that's pretty cool.
Steven Adams he's one of the most refreshing personalities in the NBA because he really calls it as he sees it. He's really unbelievably honest, and he's got that New Zealand Kiwi type of wry sense of humor. It's not that bad, man. It's not that bad. A little dry food. It's not that bad. It's a little boring. That's it. It's not that bad. And, you know, I think, as I said yesterday, I think when human beings are confronted with change, they are resistant at first, but they are quickly and easily adaptable. Nobody wants to change. It is one of these things where we are really scared, really nervous, really fearful. We get anxiety. Nobody wants change at all. Oh, my God, don't make me change. And then you do it, and you do it for like 2 days, and suddenly people are into the groove of it. Okay, yeah, this is fine. There hasn't been a lot of complaining from the NBA players over the last week. The first 2 days they were there, this food sucks. This is so boring. This hotel room stinks. Blah, blah, blah. We haven't really heard that recently. People are adaptable once they get into and are forced into that situation. And Steven Adams is right. It's a hotel. It's a resort at Disney World. I mean, is it boring? Yeah. Is it hot as hell in Orlando these days? Of course. But is it that bad? Of course not.
DA, amongst all the realism Steven Adams just brought, though, he still took the shot. And I just think the one thing that's going to come out of this bubble is when everything is back to normal, I have a hard time thinking people are flocking to buy that food all-inclusive package at Disney at this point because he's still taking shots at the Disney World food. Disney World trying to be the most gracious host, and no player can stand to eat their food, even when they're trying to be realistic about it. So, you're going to take the family, the kids, all that, and Disney offers you, goes, well, here's our full food package. No. Even Steven Adams said it's dry. I'm going to Perkins across the street. I mean, what are we
dry
doing?
Food here and there. And
it goes to show you that these NBA players are used to eating real well. You know, when they travel on the road, their meals are thousands of dollars. And then when they eat at the facility or on the charter flight, they've got the best food catered to them. So they have been eating the best of the best for years, and now they get the slop that we get served when we go to a hotel, and they're looking at that continental breakfast being like, oh my God, this is inedible. This is hideous.
I've seen pictures that look like a lunch I'd crave and go out of my way to the mall food court for. I don't understand the big deal here.
No, it ain't Nobu sushi for them, so forget it. And finally, here is Chiefs defensive end Chris Jones, believing that there's a few more Lombardis in their future.
This is only the beginning. Be prepared to have another parade and another parade and another parade, because we're going to make sure we bring not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5+ rings to Kansas City. You know, it's been 50 years. The wait has been great, but the wait is over now, and it's time to create a dynasty. And I want them to fully know that Stone Cold Jones is here to stay. Tech Nation is here to stay, and we're going to make a movie of this.
Oh, boy. Oh. Well. Look, I hate the predicting of championships because they're so damn hard to win as it is. Does it feel like the Chiefs are a potential budding dynasty? Of course. You have Patrick Mahomes. You've already won a championship And it feels like the window's now wide open to the AFC, considering Tom Brady's gone and the Patriots are rebooting. So it does feel like the window is open for them to win multiple championships. But I just hate it when players act like it's that easy to do. Not one, not two, not three. I mean, that was my biggest gripe in Miami about the LeBron Heat, is that opening prediction with that laser light show of not one, not two, not three. It ends up being two championships. Now, how silly does it sound when you go back and basically predict 7 of them? If you're Chris Jones, I get trying to get the fans hyped, but this always annoys me. But it also sounds like Chris Jones is trying to promote himself and brand himself and trying to be some type of big personality. My guess is most of you guys haven't even heard of Chris Jones, so I guess he's doing his job here, trying to be outlandish and over the top. That was from Cody and Gold on Sports Radio 610, my old home in Kansas City. But if you were to ask me, Mraz, how many championships the Chiefs get, I think the over-under is 1.5 more. That they either get 1 more or 2 more. I don't think they're just going to be stacking 5 or 6 championships.
Yeah, especially now that Patrick Mahomes got his payday and salary cap questions will come into play naturally because it happens to any successful team when they have to have a big payday. I would agree. I would expect to see Patrick Mahomes play in another 1 or 2 Super Bowls. Maybe he does get to more, but to make the proclamation that you're going to win any more than 1 more at this point seems to be you're enjoying a little too much your fruits of your offseason and winning a championship. And I can tell you this, Kansas City Chiefs were so rootable. Patrick Mahomes is a great guy, and it was so fun to watch that city embrace it. But I keep hearing more people talk like Chris Jones. I'm going to turn on the Chiefs and get nauseated by them real fast. Real fast.
The Chiefs better also watch out about thinking that they're already a dynasty, because last year, as great as Mahomes is and as deserving as they were of winning a Super Bowl, things broke for them. I mean, they came back from down 24 points against the Texans because Bill O'Brien's a disaster. They end up not having to go on the road to Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. And then they get to a Super Bowl, and they end up with a quarterback whose head coach is not going to allow him to throw a pass in the fourth quarter. So ended up working out okay for the Chiefs. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Chris Jones. That is your sound check. Standing by with our headline this morning is our dessert coordinator, Brad Heller. Brad, good morning.
Well, good morning, DA. This report sponsored by Geico. Geico has introduced the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers that lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility. With all rookies reporting to training camps by today, the NFL and the Players Association cleared a big hurdle with the COVID-19 testing protocols. Players will be tested every day for the first 2 weeks of camp. After that point, if the positive test rate for players, coaches, and staff is below 5%, the testing will move to every other day. And the NFL is also proposing no preseason games, something the players have been asking for all along. The latest first-round picks to sign, the Falcons and corner A.J. Terrell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs, and the Jets signing their massive offensive lineman Mekhi Becton, 6'7", 360 pounds. Meanwhile, a joint statement from the Jets and the Giants, no fans will be allowed at their games at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey until further notice. You heard from Steven Adams about his take on the NBA bubble. Well, here's LeBron James.
Everyone keeps asking me how's the bubble or how's it going. I just say it's 2020. Nothing is normal in 2020. Nothing seems as is. And who knows if it will ever go back to the way it was. Who knows? But you make the adjustments and you figure it out along the way. That's what life is all about. You know, life throws you curveballs sometimes, and it's how you not only approach it, but how you appreciate it as well.
The NBA bubble's working. 346 players tested in the last week and no positive tests. The seeding games begin in 10 days, a week from Thursday. Lakers, Clippers, and Jazz Pelicans will be up first. Also good news for the NHL. Only 2 players have tested positive since training camps opened a week ago. The teams will travel to the 2 hub cities on Sunday. The Blue Jays are talking to the Pirates about possibly sharing PNC Park in Pittsburgh for home games since the Canadian government won't let them play in Toronto. Their home schedules only overlap for 7 games this season. The players' preference is to find a Major League park. The Jays are also considering the team's AAA facility in Buffalo. Their first home game is July 29th. And one of the A's top prospects, lefty pitcher A.J. Puck, will start the season on the injured list with a strained shoulder. D.A.
Thank you, Brad. Mraz, let's ask this question. Where will Vlad Guerrero eat best? For Toronto, for the Blue Jays, is it Buffalo if they play at the home of the AAA Bison? Is it in Dunedin, Florida, where their spring training facility is, or is it in Pittsburgh, home of the Pirates, where they could share PNC Park?
DA, you could put slaw and fries on sourdough bread and eat sandwiches all day long at Permanente Brothers. It's got to be Pittsburgh. Look, he's close enough to Buffalo that I'm sure he's gone across the border and pounded wings and tried them all. That's a lot of bread, a lot of starch, a lot of slaw. It's got to be PNC Park. I fear for Vlad Guerrero's waistline in Pittsburgh. I would say if they play in Pittsburgh, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is up 25 at a minimum between now and Halloween. No doubt.
Well, you already said that he's up 40 just after quarantine.
Have you seen him? Look at shots of Vlad Guerrero in the spring. Yes, he can.
He can't add another 25.
Dude, what do you think? Have you seen my 600-pound life? Of course he can.
Those are not professional athletes working out every single day.
DA, have you ever seen how big Prince Fielder got? I mean, Miguel Cabrera used to be a third baseman. He just kept packing on pounds. I'm telling you, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is relying way too much on that swing and everything like that. He astonishingly gained a lot of weight in quarantine. He made every person in America feel so much better about how much they ate during quarantine because Vlad Guerrero Jr. basically can't bend down for a ground ball at 22 years old at first base right now without ripping his pants. It's a bad scene. And if now he's going to go play in Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, he's going to go play in Pittsburgh, rough one. Because he's going to walk right into Permanente Brothers, mask on, and just be trying them all and pounding French fry after French fry after French fry. And I'm telling you, back problems by him very early. He's the next Prince Fielder, I'm telling you.
So you're going to say that Pittsburgh's a better eating city than Buffalo is, home of the Buffalo Wing.
The Buffalo Wing absolutely tastes better in Buffalo than it does anywhere else. And I think Buffalo's a great eating city. And I do want to make this very clear. I want to be transparent as possible. I've never actually been to Pittsburgh, so I've yet to try the Permanente Brothers. But I'm going based on everything everybody says and everything I see and salivate over through a screen. And knowing that I've been to Buffalo, I don't know how, and especially because, dude, a chicken wing is a lot of protein, a lot of hot sauce. It's not necessarily the healthiest thing because they do cook it in butter, but you don't necessarily gain a lot of weight quick by cleaning chicken bones. You pack bread and starch and French fries and all of that nonstop, which is what he'll do because he's only going to be in Pittsburgh for 3 months. Yes, that's a much better heavy eating town and something he will gain a lot of weight doing. If I'm Toronto right now, I have a nutritionist basically following him around the whole day.
For the record, a Permante's Brothers sandwich is my favorite sandwich in America. It is one of my favorite sandwiches of all time, and it is on big pieces of bread. I love the hot pastrami. They put the pastrami on there. They also put the coleslaw on top of it. They also can put cheese on it if you'd like, tomatoes. There's a little vinaigrette on there. I have oftentimes gotten a fried egg on top of that, and then they top it off with their steak fries. They put the steak fries in the sandwich and then close the sandwich, and you eat it just as a big hunk of love.
Oh, that is a hunk of love. And I don't understand how Vlad Guerrero Jr. wouldn't be doing. Ooh, I'm not in Toronto anymore. I'm going to walk into Permanente Brothers and, okay, all right, what do we got here? What do we got? Ooh. All right, Calvin Biggio or whatever his name is, here we go. What are we going to do here? And Vlad Guerrero Jr. can't bend down at any point because he's so fat. I hate to use it, but I am fat. He got fat, and he's going to get fatter with all that bread and starch. And I will say this about Permanente Brothers, and I'm sure Vlad Guerrero Jr. is on this train too. The one thing that's really emerged in 2020, I think personally, and I've talked about this in the past, 2012, the year of the ranch, we've had the year of the sriracha, coleslaw, a lot like Kyler Murray leaving his baseball contract, has now emerged, I think, as a top pick in the condiment draft. So, if Kyler Murray had that baseball contract, a lot like coleslaw with a side salad contract, Permanente Brothers was ahead of this game with coleslaw as a topping. Coleslaw, now you could top it on anything. They might as well have squirt bottles at every restaurant of coleslaw. It is an unbelievable topping that I'm sure Vlad Guerrero Jr. is just packing his face full of coleslaw everywhere he goes. And now you're going to put coleslaw on the Permanente Brothers sandwiches. I mean, that is iconic. That's iconic, and that's a real problem for Blue Jays fans and a top prospect.
Because coleslaw provides you the crisp and the crunch of the cabbage but then also the cool down, refreshing zest of the cream as well. So it really becomes the perfect condiment for just about any sandwich, including hot dogs.
Oh, a coleslaw on a hot dog. DA, it is the adult version of when we were kids and we used to get those little ice pops that you'd push them up through the thing and have a little cool down. You want a nice barbecue right now? You got burgers, you got steaks, you got hot dogs especially. You bring out a big bat of coleslaw and just slop it on everything. It is the perfect adult cool down. I'm telling you. It's unbelievable. Primanti Brothers was ahead of this game, and Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s fat ass is going to be eating so much coleslaw in Pittsburgh. It's unbelievable. Stock down on the Jays when their top prospects eating that.
When we come back here on the show, will Dan Snyder lose the team over the last expose with the Washington Post late last week? Hit me up on Twitter, DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. This is the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good value, big upside.
Mraz, I was trying to throw you some bones. I'm going to take back my my bones.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
My bone. My precious bone. Our toll-free line is 855-212-4227, sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you, so what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. The DA shows in podcast form. Anything that you may have missed or want to hear again, available whenever you want it. Go to your favorite podcast platform and search The DA Show. Subscribe there. Rate and review us. That'll help other people find the podcast. Again, just search The DA Show on radio.com, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you use. Last week, on Friday, we had Tyler Dunn join us here on the show. And Tyler is a Bleacher Report NFL columnist and long-form reporter. And the guys asked him, because I was out on Friday, so Mraz and Bogish asked him about the fallout surrounding Dan Snyder and the Washington franchise ownership in the wake of the expose done by the Washington Post, where 15 women came forward and said they had been put into uncomfortable sexual situations or had crude comments made about them, or there was sexual misconduct within the organization from multiple members. And as heart-wrenching as it is to hear anybody, male, female, young, old, white, black, Latino, whatever it is, go through workplace malpractice and abuse and those types of things, I hate to say it, but it doesn't feel like it's out of bounds for that organization. It has always felt as though that organization played by its own rules, led by Dan Snyder, who let his henchmen feel like they were untouchable because there was never accountability. They just spun their wheels constantly at every turn, and the guys that were in charge, and it was almost always guys in charge that were bulletproof, felt like they could do no wrong. We have that clip, I believe, from Tyler Dunn from Friday's show about what the NFL might do or what the fallout might be surrounding Dan Snyder and this piece from the Washington Post. Here's that clip.
I think there's a good chance, and I wouldn't have said that just, a few weeks ago. It might have been talking with some folks there when I was asked if, if the Redskins' name would ever change. And back then, I didn't think so. It seemed like every time it came up, no matter what, Dan Snyder would just double, triple, quadruple down, and the name wouldn't change. And, well, the name's changing, and these are different times, and this story is, it's about as disgusting as it gets. That is institutional. It's, in the fabric of the franchise itself. You get the sense that it only really scratches the surface, too. I wouldn't be surprised if public pressure, corporate pressure, league pressure did kind of force Dan Snyder's hand, and it was almost like a Donald Sterling situation. I don't know. That's a gut feeling more than anything, but I'm not going to rule anything out. And just a few weeks ago, that would seem crazy to say, because it just seemed like Dan Snyder and his Washington football team just kind of plowed through every controversy. This is something I don't think they can just kind of brush aside. And the league itself is already weighed in.
Tyler Dunn, Bleacher Report, NFL columnist, senior writer there. So I am doubtful that Dan Snyder loses his team over this, simply because there is no direct knowledge proved, and none of these allegations are about Dan Snyder. It would be surprising to me if the collateral damage on this report is that Dan Snyder loses the franchise. Had a woman or multiple women come forth and said, Dan Snyder said this to me, Dan Snyder did this to me, I'd believe it. But without that, I think he's going to fight tooth and nail to keep this franchise, and Dan Snyder has a lot of money to fight tooth and nail. But I think what Tyler does say there is important, that these are different times. And I'm with him. I didn't know when Washington was going to give up that offensive nickname. I thought it eventually would happen in my lifetime. I didn't know when. I didn't know how long it was going to be. But I have felt for the last 4 to 5 years, maybe longer than that, but certainly the last 4 to 5 years, it was inevitable that at some point in our nation's history, we would look at this and say, well, this is unacceptable. It had become unacceptable many years ago, but powers that be tend to stay in power. Daniel Snyder was the person in power. He gets to call his shots because he's the billionaire that owns the franchise, and you can't tell billionaires what to do. So I figured, well, as long as he's in power, he's probably going to keep it, but he's not going to be in power forever. So when does that happen? Well, the powers that be have stayed in power in this situation, but monetarily things changed. Financial forces pressured him into doing what should have been done many years ago. Could financial pressures do the same thing here? Now, that's kind of an X factor. You know, we do live at a different time where people are opening up their eyes to long-suffering communities or parts of our society that have kind of been brushed off. I mean, the Me Too movement became a reckoning about powerful men applying that pressure onto women in the workplace. And that's what this is. That's what this ended up being. And so what would have been acceptable 10 years ago, and certainly was expected in a Mad Men era, say, is no longer acceptable. I don't think that Dan Snyder is going to end up having to give up the team because there was no direct allegation to him. But I can't say never say never. Well, I should say never say never. I can't say never because things did change under our very feet and are going to continue to change. And if you're a Washington football fan and you want an end to the misery that has been Dan Snyder's 21 years, I don't blame you one bit. When we come back here on the DA Show, top of the hour, did Antonio Brown retire yesterday? And if so, do we care? DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We take you to the outer reaches of the galaxy, where sports talk doesn't quite sound like anything on this planet.
Yeah!
Into outer space, where voices echo without making any sense.
Have you been doing right?
It's mornings on the mothership. Which means it's the middle of the night somewhere.
I was just wondering how are the Lakers doing?
Well, the season's over.
So that's what can happen with 2 root beers and 7 Oreo cookies.
You better take your raincoat.
Welcome aboard the mothership.
And a happy Tuesday to you, everybody. Trash Tuesday. We come to you live From the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios, when you need an expert to help navigate the home loan process, Rocket can. On a Trash Tuesday, who or what are you trashing? Hit us up on Twitter, DA on CBS. I'll begin reading those this hour. We'll get to our trashes coming up in 20 minutes from now. On Twitter, tweet at me, DA on CBS. Follow me and tweet at me there, DA on CBS. Our trashes in 20. In 40 minutes, did a Bulls rookie just cost himself his job by calling out his head coach? Also, one of the coolest stories in college sports recently has been that of St. Thomas. A Division III powerhouse in Minnesota has been so thoroughly dominant, its conference said, hey, you got to get out of here. You're just kicking everybody's tails for years. You got to move up. And so instead of moving to a different league in the Division III or maybe going up to Division II, they decided to make the jump all the way up to Division I in one off season. So St. Thomas's AD, Phil Eston, is going to join us a little over an hour from now. But this hour, we begin with Antonio Brown. As AB takes to Twitter yesterday and seems to suggest that he is retiring. Now, we've heard of this song and dance before from AB, but yesterday he tweeted, "It is time to walk away. I've done everything in the game at this point. The risk is greater than the reward. Thank you, everyone who has been part of this journey. I sincerely thank you for everything. Life goes on, 84. I came, I saw, I conquered. Mission complete. Call God." This is what is amazing to me. Antonio Brown is 32 years old. He has had a phenomenal career already, and he would have had way more good football. And yet, he has crashed and burned and spun himself into an insane top and spun himself perhaps out of the league. I mean, if you really look at his numbers, Antonio Brown's final 6 years, every single one of his final 6 seasons, let's not call last season a season because he only played in one game for the Patriots. Final 6 years, minimum 120 100 catches for 1,200 yards. His numbers over those 6 years are incredibly productive. And he finished those 6 years at the age of 30. The age of 30. 6 consecutive 100-catch, 1,200-yard seasons. And then over the last 2 years at age 31, he freezes his feet off, forces his way out of town into Oakland, forces his way out of town there, ends up in New England, plays a game, the bleep hits the fan, and he's out of there as well. And by 32 years old, can't get a job. Here are his catch numbers from 2014 through 2018. 129, 136, 106, 101, 104. Here's his yardage numbers in those years. 1499, 1698, 1834, 1284, 1533, 1297. The production is off the charts. Antonio Brown had 100 catches or more and 1,200 yards or more 6 consecutive seasons, and then fell off the face of the earth at 31 years old. There was more good football left. Maybe this was the effect of his brain being scrambled by Vontaze Burfict in that playoff game. A lot of people point to that and say he was never the same. Maybe something else happened. But where he is mentally now and was over the last 18 months compared to his production over the 6 previous years is such an amazing drop-off. It's not like Antonio Brown was kind of losing it and kind of wasn't dependable on the football field and was there some of the time, but you had to kind of rally him and reel him in, and he was kind of slowly getting away, or even went away over the last 3 years or so. He had 6 of the most productive seasons you could possibly have in a row, and then forced his way out of Pittsburgh, froze his feet, was a disaster in Oakland before even playing a game, then ended up in New England, the bleep hit the fan, and never played football again. I mean, that's what this is going to be. Did he really retire yesterday? Who knows? He has threatened this before. The question would be, at 32 years old now and knowing what we know about Antonio Brown, would anybody bring him in? He might not have options. He might be staring at a week before a training camp opens up and nobody wants to give him a training camp invite, and so he says, I'm going to retire. That's absolutely in play. And if he doesn't play this year, and he barely played last year, what makes any of us think that he's going to suddenly be okay to play next year, and why anybody would want him next year? The fact is that Antonio Brown might have gone from 6 Hall of Fame seasons to out of the league in the snap of a finger. Never to play again at 31 years old. And that's pretty incredible. That's pretty amazing. If it was 37, okay. At 31 years old, basically you wave a wand and he never played football again. Do we care if he's retired? I don't think so. Not really. Because even if he comes back, he's not going to be what Antonio Brown once was. Mentally, he's too far gone, and who knows where he is physically. Who knows what last year's toll took on him. Who knows what his body's going to respond with. Who knows? I think he is such a clown now that so many people don't care and won't ever care about anything AB ever again. And I don't blame them at all. I mean, there were certainly times last year where I was totally sick of talking about Antonio Brown also. But we don't ever see this. 6 years in your prime, Hall of Fame stats, and then poof, never to be seen from again. Unless you're Barry Sanders, and Barry actively walked away. He said, I don't want to do this anymore, and he's gone. But a guy that's still trying to kind of hang on, trying to have work, trying to find a job, 6 years, Hall of Fame type stats, in his prime, 30 years old, poof, never plays football again. Don't know if that's ever happened. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227, Twitter, DA on CBS. Mraz, do you think that Antonio Brown's actually retiring, or do you think that this is yet another stunt to try to gain some attention?
I think it's a stunt, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely about attention. I think that he spent this entire offseason working out with plenty of players, including Lamar Jackson. He was linked to the Seahawks. He was linked to the Ravens, and every team he was linked to, and who knows who was pumping out that publicity train. It might have been whatever agent he's hired now. I think inevitably he saw that there's not a lot of nibbles, and it's really not a climate right now where, with enough going on and enough health protocols and enough trying to keep your team sane, that you need to bring you need to bring Antonio Brown into your locker room. And I think by him saying I'm retiring, it's his own ego check way of trying to claim he's going out on his terms ahead of the acknowledgement, like, oh no, nobody's going to sign me again. And I think that's what he wants to do, because he doesn't want the book written that he kept trying and trying and trying and nobody would sign him. And then he looks like the desperate person that didn't have final say. And I think this is all about his ego here saying he's retiring.
I would agree. I think he wants to have some type of upper hand. He doesn't want to admit that nobody wants me. I agree with that. I also think your point on, in the middle of all of this going on in pandemic and what you're going to have to do to try to keep your team on the tracks, bringing in Antonio Brown seems less appetizing than ever.
Of course.
You know, you've got to really cross your fingers and pray every single night to the football gods that your team stays on the tracks, that your leaders are helping lead through difficult times. This is going to be kind of a crazy season. this is going to be a season unlike any other. And the last thing you need is crazy people around you. But you could just imagine, like in quarantine, it's one thing to live amongst your family and try to work through that and try to stay sane and stable. Imagine just adding a crazy person to it. How impossible it is to live through your household if you just had a crazy person within those walls in the middle of all of this new stuff that you've got to navigate. So if this was last year, just spun it forward, a normal season, everything is normal, maybe there's some bites for Antonio Brown. But as you said, man, this year, with everything you deal with coronavirus, et cetera, the last thing you want to do is deal with crazy people in the middle of your facility. It's just not worth it right now.
And not only his craziness, DA, but there needs to be a certain trust level, I think, with NFL players. And you're seeing this with the NBA snitch line in that, hey, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we're safe and trying to keep the virus out of our locker room. The moment the game ends and Antonio Brown gets in his car and we're not playing a bubble situation in the NFL, do you think Antonio Brown is, I'm sorry, knowing the way he is, following any kind of guideline to keep him safe? Or do you think he's hanging out with whoever he wants, whenever he wants? And that's not a trust factor or something you need. I hate to paint the picture, but that is a potential, positive test influx coming into your locker room just by the fact that the way Antonio Brown could live his life on the offseason. You don't need to be dealing with that if you're a GM.
Yeah, he's too much of a wild card. He's uncontrollable. He's unpredictable.
Yes.
And when everything else is unpredictable, you need the people inside your organization to be stable and predictable and consistent. And he's just none of those things. So the appetite's just not there right now for Antonio Brown. And who knows if he's really retired, but what a crash and burn for his career. By the way, on a Trash Tuesday, we want to read through your trashes on Twitter. And I have to say, I wanted to start by reading our listeners, the D-Aliens tweets, but I have to actually start with some inter-DA show warfare here on Twitter. So if we can cue the tweets, or at least cue the trashes, we tweeted out that it's Trash Tuesday, and Bogish, nearly an hour ago, he's on vacation this week, tweeted at us, "Good morning, DA. Big fan. I'm trashing Pete the Body for texting me about schedules yesterday at 5:15 a.m. while I'm on vacation. I'll hang up and listen. AB, we have to now trash Pete the Body."
That's a dumpster dive.
Now, Pete has responded in kind. Pete has tweeted, "I'm trashing Andrew Bogish for trashing me for answering a question of his. If he didn't have the phone on during his vacation playing George Kalinsky, he would have gotten the text when he woke up. Go fish, get him out."
This must be garbage time.
Now we got to trash Bogish in turn. Now Bogish responds on Twitter, You needed to answer the question I asked you on Friday at 5:15 a.m. on Monday? And Pete responded, "Truthfully, I try to avoid early texts like that, but some slip on accident in the moment. However, you are now up in the 6 o'clock hour, so don't act like you were dancing on clouds in dreamland when you got that message."
Ooh.
That's fair.
Mraz,
I know a thing or two about letting things slip on accident as well.
We have a bubbling situation here to play the juror or the jury who's in the right here. It sounds like Bogish asked Bellotti a question about scheduling on Friday, and Bellotti texted Bogish on Bogish's vacation, his day off at 5:15 a.m., but he thought that Bogish would get it when he turned on his phone and woke up, didn't think it would wake him up. Where do we stand?
All right, so I just real quickly need an answer out of Pete. Pete, what time did Bogish ask you a schedule question on Friday?
Oh,
this will help my answer.
It was during the day. It was during the day.
But after you were off duty?
Well, we started when I was on duty, and it continued when I was off duty.
All right, so maybe that's irrelevant here. I would just say this, DA. My personal theory is Pete is in the wrong for texting at 5:15 in the morning. However, I do think I can't give Pete a life sentence or even anything more than a fine here, because I do think Pete's defense argument of, well, Bogus does himself no favors when he's tweeting at 6 a.m. It's not as if he's all of a sudden waking up at 9 going, hey, thanks for that text at 5:15. Also, I have been a big time proponent for years now. If you have these cell phones, unless you're some kind of hospital worker that's always on duty, I don't understand why anybody goes to bed with any kind of alerts on volume. And a 5:15 text should have no factor on your life until you wake up fully and see it. So I think Pete was in the wrong. He shouldn't be assuming the rest of the world is working and handling their business at 5:15. But ultimately, just a fine for me, DA. No jail time for Pete, because I do think he had a fair argument back.
Okay, where do we stand on this? You can tweet at me, DA on CBS. DA on CBS on a Trash Tuesday. When we come back, we'll do our trashes. The DA Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Big upside.
Our friend Ian Eagle.
Yeah, I thought this was a Zoom call. I showered for this.
Oh, sorry about that. No, somebody should have told you that we don't have that technology.
No, I completely misunderstood.
You want to do this again some other time?
Well, I bathed. I think I should be applauded for that.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
The Player of the Week brought to you by Grainger. Taking a look at the one who got it done this week. How about John Rahm taking over the #1 ranking of the world by capturing the Memorial on Sunday? His 9 under 75, enough to give him the first PGA Tour win of the 2020 season for him. It's his 4th career PGA Tour victory. The Player of the Week, sponsored by Grainger. As you get back to business, Grainger is there to help. Supplies and solutions for every industry, safety recovery guides, 24/7 support, and more. Visit Grainger.com/recovery. Grainger for the ones who get it done. The DA Show, by the way, available on your smart speaker, so simply tell your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio every single morning. Get your day started with us. Have us on around the house. Tell your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio. Standing by with our headline this morning before we get to our Trash Tuesdays is our good friend and dessert coordinator, Brad Heller. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, DA. This report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who stay with Progressive save over $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. Chiefs and Texans rookies had to report for training camp yesterday. All other rookies report today. The NFL and the Players Association has finally agreed to the COVID-19 testing protocols every day for the first 2 weeks of camp. Players are also going to wear proximity recording devices during all team activities to help with contact tracing. And the league has also offered to scrap the preseason schedule entirely. It was 4, then 2 games, and the players have been pushing for none. Notable first-round picks to sign yesterday. The Falcons and corner A.J. Terrell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs, and Mekhi Becton, the 6'7", 360-pound offensive lineman with the Jets. Also, the Jets and Giants announced no fans for their games at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey until further notice. No positive tests in the NBA bubble at Disney World in the last week out of 346 players. And if you want to know what life's really like at Disney, just ask Thunder Center Steven Adams.
Let's be clear, mate. This is not Syria, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that hard. It's not that difficult, mate. You know what I mean? We're living in a bloody resort, you know. Everyone's got a complaint. Everyone has their own preferences, mate. But, you know, it's not anything too serious. It's just a bit of dry food here and there, and get bored every now and then. But it's all good, man.
A resort with dry food, a little boring, as the NBA gets ready for these seeding games that start a week from Thursday. The rules in baseball summer camp exhibition games are a little different, or maybe there's no rules at all. Take the Yankees and Phillies last night in New York. Aaron Judge had a home run after there were 3 outs. So you can imagine the confusion in the booth.
And now the Phils are coming off the field.
Well, Judge stopped and...
Well, Judge is coming in. It won't be a home run, but the Phils are coming in, so the home run doesn't end the inning. I'm sorry. I can't do any better than this.
John Sterling and Susan Waldman on the WFAN
What happened?
Radio Network.
What were they trying to describe?
It's Velasquez, the pitcher for the Phillies, DA. They wanted him to get a certain number of pitches in, and he went through an inning 1, 2, 3 where he threw like 7 or 8 pitches. So they wanted him to face another batter since, it doesn't count at his preseason. So the next batter up for the Yankees was Aaron Judge. Since it's a fake game, the Yankees said, okay, you want his pitches to get him, we'll throw up Judge here. And Judge hits a bomb off him, and Judge starts rounding the bases like it's a regular inning. So Sterling and them were so thrown off as to why, after 3 outs, there was any pitches being thrown and why Judge was batting. Not understanding it's still an exhibition game, Topes.
That is so unfair to John and Susan. Look, they have a tough time calling baseball games with regular baseball rules instituted for the last 150 years. Now you're going to have them try to call a baseball game where there's 4 outs in an inning? Oh, forget it. Absolutely forget it. They've got no chance. They are sitting ducks on that one.
And the home run counted, by the way, in the actual score, which made it even more confusing.
Well, the fans thought it was a strikeout also.
Well, they were looking at the board like I was.
Well, that's their mistake.
Oh, my God. That is just cruel and unusual punishment for John and Susan. It's already a difficult challenge for them to follow a baseball game. Now you say we're going to just change the rules on them? Oh, forget it. They just
the right-hand hitter from Colorado. I just lost his name. Is that terrible?
No chance. They absolutely stand no chance against that type of insurrection.
I wish someone would explain it to me.
Amazing.
Oh, Judge, that was his 3rd home run in 2 games, and it counted. Yankees and Phillies ended in a tie. Mookie Betts, a 3-run home run. The Dodgers blew out the Diamondbacks again.
Also, John and Susan have to call a tie. I mean, forget it. Talk about your brains just exploding and the entire...
Well, the night before, and I'm sure we don't have the audio, but the night before, the Yankees had already won the game versus the Mets, but they continued to play the bottom of the 9th just to get more at-bats. That had to have thrown them off as well. I don't understand. The game's usually over.
And DJ LeMahieu played second base. He came out of the game, but then became the extra hitter to get extra at-bats. So all kinds of chaos in this one.
David John makes long gone.
As far as I know, it's usually 3 outs in an inning and 9 innings. I don't know what is happening here.
How do you like that?
Somebody slipped LSD into my coffee before the game. That's the only question. I feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland right now.
I love the nightlife, and I like to boogie.
Susan, is there 4 outs in this inning? All right, let's bring you a Trash Tuesday.
So, what's eating you?
People that get in the left lane and drive the speed limit. I got to trash the NFL, man. Trash my ex-girlfriend.
You want me to trash that?
Trash Tuesday, my favorite day of the week, not for nothing.
Time to vent. We take it out like the trash. It's Trash Tuesday.
All right, Mraz leads us off. Who are you trashing?
DA, I have to trash suddenly the willy-nilliness that everybody has online with selling stuff on their own, not being a store, being basically their own person that sells stuff. And the reason it's really started to irk me is just Saturday afternoon, DA, I'm taking a nice calm dip. The baby is napping. I'm enjoying the pool. It's a beautiful afternoon. When suddenly my wife from the back of the window opens up the window. Sean! Somebody's stealing the stroller. Get out front. I had left the stroller out front because I got Taylor to nap in it, and I figured, whatever, I'll take her for another walk later. As it turns out, a woman pulls up in a van, walks right up to my patio, throws $20 in my mailbox, starts taking our stroller, which is like a $600 stroller, and is putting it in the back of a van. My dog Eli is going nuts. In the middle of this, Danielle is showering, so she comes out because she doesn't understand why Eli's going bonkers. I'm obviously in the backyard. And she sees this woman putting a stroller in the back. Danielle now, butt naked, mind you. I am not kidding. Towel falling down, comes out onto our front porch, topless, Danielle, for the world
my.
to see. This was some scene. Starts yelling, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What? I don't understand what you're doing." The lady now sees Danielle. I mean, the whole neighborhood's got to be looking, what the heck's going on? She apparently, the long story shorter, longer, whatever, She purchased via Facebook Marketplace a stroller, a very used beat-up stroller from the following block, which has the same house number as us, and they were supposed to leave a stroller out, but she pulled up down the block, saw our stroller sitting in front, and it's the same house number, different block, and thought, oh, okay, this is the stroller. And then starts coming back, goes, oh, I thought this was a nicer stroller than we had. I left you the $20. We're so confused because look at the text messages.
Goodness.
Danielle's screaming at me because she came out, I'm topless on the front lawn because she was so worried that this lady was stealing the stroller. It was chaos in my house, and this whole thing could be avoided if we just stopped selling our own stuff online. Yes, and the only reason I backed Danielle up that she was topless, our Ring video later had it recorded, and she had to show me. Basically, yes, everything was out. The front court was out on the front lawn trying to get Taylor's stroller back. It was chaotic on Saturday here.
Trash people selling strollers on Facebook Marketplace.
Household waste goes in this bin.
I have to say, I don't know what your neighbors think of you guys since you've moved in. I mean, you have shaved your back hair on the front porch. You have also stiffed the Girl Scout that was trying to sell you cookies and candy bars. You have your wife topless screaming at people on your front porch. What could your neighbors think about you?
We do give the mailmen water bottles, so that's the only thing that's helping us right now. Outside of that, we have to be the biggest trash that has moved into this neighborhood in about 20 years.
How about also, I mean, the mafia that you had show up to install your pool?
Oh, yes.
I mean,
drinking my seltzers, smoking cigarettes.
The shadiest dudes ever that just crushed all your Kona seltzers.
It is some scene here in Bayshore, New York. It is something else I never thought I'd imagine in almost a year. But topless Danielle saving the stroller, yes.
Wow. Well, not all heroes wear towels either.
I'm sure she'd love that you put that on the air.
All right, Pete the Body Bilotti, who are you trashing?
I am trashing the people that go to the beach and they decide to put their stuff immediately in front of you. The beach gets crowded, usually on a nice day, about 11, 12 o'clock your local time. We try to get out early on the beach, and there's a lot of space, people keeping social distancing, and then there's this drunk trio that comes and puts their stuff right in front of us. No space, nothing, and look around like we're the ones that are creating a problem. Meanwhile, they're right on top of us. Give us some space. Get them out.
Get them out.
Illegal dumping.
The beach crowders. They come up and they crowd everybody on the beach.
That's right.
Your local time.
And that's Pete on the 8s. Connor Green is in. He has a trash today. Connor, who are you trashing?
Trashing Rob Manfred because apparently Mike Ford of the Yankees had a home run last night that was measured on StatCast at 680 feet. So apparently Rob Manfred heard everybody complaining about juiced balls last year and said, you know what? No, what we need is more juice. And by the time he's done as commissioner, we might have home runs that are crossing state lines. Roy Hobbs in the natural couldn't even hit a ball 680 feet, and he had superpowers. I have to go check Mike Ford's bat and see if he has a little lightning bolt on it. If maybe he got struck by lightning. It's the most ridiculous thing, and it's possible that StatCast mismeasured it, but if not, get Rob Manfred out.
Luke, it's the trash compactor.
It might be possible that perhaps StatCast mismeasured a 680-foot home run. But if not, let's definitely trash the commissioner, Rob Manfred. Brad Heller, do we have a trash from the dessert coordinator this morning?
Oh, we do. A certain furniture home decor company here in Manhattan worked with one of their interior designers to order a desk because it's in a New York City apartment. You can imagine, to try and find the right specifications for a desk. Found one, not just your regular desk, but one that's got one of those shelves on top, a ladder desk, whatever you call it. So the specific instructions were to deliver it in boxes and have them put it together here in the apartment. Well, it comes on Friday. They knock on the door. The delivery guy says, hey, we have your desk, but we can't fit it in the elevator. Well, why can't you fit the boxes in the elevator? Oh, well, we built it at the facility and brought it over in the truck. It's like, well, wait a minute. That wasn't the instructions. He goes, oh, we That's no one told us otherwise. So it's in the truck and it's all built, but we can't get it upstairs. So with all the insurance requirements you need to have delivery people come in, there was no way to fix it. So they had to take it back to the facility, and you have to go through the whole process again. We emailed the woman, the designer that set things up, said, hey, didn't we say it was going to be in boxes and not made and not put together before it came to the apartment? And her response was, gosh, that's never happened before. Sorry about that. Reach out to customer service. Let me know how it goes. Are you kidding me?
Trash them.
Warm, sizzling garbage.
So when are you getting a desk now?
Supposed to come this Friday, hopefully in boxes. You know the trouble I've had trying to get the acoustics right in this apartment. So this is supposed to help that, but it's dragging out the process a little more than it needs to be.
Oh, my gosh, that's brutal. All right. Well, up to my trash. I'm trashing something that has been labeled the oopsie. Can we please play the clip of this from last week's PGP?
It's coming. We all know it's coming, and it's going to be a nightmare when it's here.
Yep. DA, I got to run real 1 second. I got an oopsie.
What does that mean? I got an oopsie. What a disgusting human being.
That is from last week's PGP. I'm having a conversation with Mraz. And in the middle of the conversation, he says, I got to go have an oopsie, and throws down the headset. Do you know how unbelievably embarrassing that would be for most people to deal with? And yet here's Mraz, who just kind of passes it off as, yeah, I'm on a juice cleanse. It's just what happens. When you are the person having a conversation with somebody and they just flee because they have a, quote, oopsie, you also, by proxy, feel disgusting. You feel like you have been part of a crime. You feel like you have taken part in some gory type of incident. Mraz had the, quote, oopsie, and then had to have his mother-in-law throw him down new underwear and a towel down the stairs.
She had to thumb through my underwear drawer, DA.
He then did side B with Bogish without pants on. This is what we were all roped into. You know, it's one thing to have an oopsie on your own time. It's one thing to have an oopsie away from everybody else. It's also one thing to have an oopsie and not tell anybody about it so that we don't have to relive the horror. But you brought all of us into this unwittingly, and I didn't sign up for being part of an oopsie. And neither did Bogish sign up for being part of a pantsless side B. So let's just say this. Nachos. Yeah. Stop playing Winnie the Pooh. Stop playing Juice Cleanse. Put on pants and don't wrap us into your bodily bowel adventures. We don't want to be part of that. Trash Mraz.
Ooh, I don't either. And I got an oopsie.
Total wasteoid.
It's really, and I'm going to actually do old school Mraz here and point the finger. It's really Peter Schwartz's fault.
Oh, really? Wow. Didn't see you going there.
Had Peter not been a constant topic for us, we would have wrapped Side A the way we normally wrap Side A. We would have done the movies, done a little extra content. I counted. We went a good 8 minutes longer on Side A than we usually do. And my body, I think internally was clicking, knew how long we'd go with Side A. It's kind of like when you're driving home and you have to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden you turn 2 blocks closer. Your body starts doing the race. It knew how much time we usually do on Side A. You asked too many follow-ups on a Peter Schwartz question. I had to stand up. I was trying to be as polite as possible because I didn't want to interrupt. I knew I was trying to be professional.
Wow, nice.
And
really polite, really professional.
It came, and then I thought I did the most professional thing. I did not screw over Pete or Billy and have them have to stay longer. Instead, I said, forget showering right now. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to do Side B bottomless with Bogish because that's how dedicated I am to the craft. So it's all Pete Schwartz's fault. And in the end, I showed I was a good employee.
Hi. So I like how you're like, I did them a solid. I didn't ask them to clean my bottom.
Yeah. That was the only solid I did that day.
Disgusting. Just so disgusting. And Mraz is not out of the woods yet. I've had multiple listeners suggest that he should be up for punishment since the last time he belched on the PGP, he was suspended for 2 episodes. This was an oopsie on the PGP. Thankfully, we couldn't hear it, but it does beg the question, does Mraz face more discipline? I believe there might be a trial of his peers to decide whether Mraz faces discipline for his latest indiscretion on the PGP. Last week's PGP is just, there's never been another one like it, and I hope there's never another one like it ever again. And as Bogusch said,
this week.
You know, you came on Side B and you're like, you told Bogusch what happened, you know, and you had prefaced it as, well, something really bad just happened. And Bogusch is bracing for the worst. Like something happened to one of your family members, something happened, you know, that was really critical. And you were like, I had an oopsie. And you could hear the frustration and disgust when Bogusch is like, that's the awful thing that happened. Why are you so proud of this? You know, Bogusch was disgusted by your tact last week.
It's not proud. It's both, I'm mortified in the moment. How would you guys feel if your mother-in-law was over watching your child and you can't escape upstairs because obviously you now don't have pants on and you have to text this woman, who's your mother-in-law, to go thumb through your underwear drawer to throw you a fresh pair of drawers? Do you know how mortifying that is? But I also understand the instinct in me as an entertainer that, you know what, this also is funny as well, so I need to own it a little bit.
As an entertainer. What are you, King of Pop over there?
Jackie Gleason?
As an entertainer. Sammy Davis Jr. over there. The king of all media. As an entertainer.
Start singing the Candyman next.
As an entertainer. You know, I realize my responsibilities as an entertainer to make sure that the audience remains engaged. As I finish up my show in Vegas.
I have a residency.
Danny Gans, an entertainer.
Celine Dion and Mraz.
Yeah. When we come back here on the DA show, did a Bulls rookie just cost himself a job at DA, CBS Sports Radio?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good value, big upside. It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
I am the entertainer, and I know just where I stand. Another serenader and another long-haired band. Today I am your champion. I may have won your hearts, but I know the game. You forget my name, and I won't be here in another year if I don't stay on the charts.
Mraz, the entertainer. The entertainer of a decade. Opening up in Las Vegas. Once pandemic closes, you can go get your tickets now. Top Hat, Kane, regular Fred Astaire over there. The entertainer. The man that has an oopsie in the middle of talking about Peter Schwartz's foul ball collection. That's the entertainer. The guy best known for his football dips every Friday that involve more cheese and more condiments than ever. That's the entertainer.
Ooh.
The guy that turns plum purple yelling about Pat Shurmur. That's your entertainer. You know him well.
10 points!
A man of so many talents.
6 years! A cow?
The guy whose knowledge about the animal kingdom stopped at second grade. The entertainer.
A real moose?
Anus.
The guy whose very basic grasp on American history completely eludes him. The entertainer.
Au juice.
It's Mraz. Jazz hands. As fireworks explode behind him, there's a giant J-Lo screen. It's the entertainer.
Turn around, above your mother.
He will sing Stanley Cup theme songs.
C'est la vie.
the entertainer. Mraz just called himself the entertainer. Oh, my goodness. The man known to choke on a pretzel during the radio show. The entertainer. You know him as the entertainer. He will entertain the masses without pants on after he laid an oopsie.
For my own cheese.
Entertain.
From the window to the wall. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
He's astounding the masses on a nightly basis.
It's a hard candy.
As he wears his 14th straight New York Giants jersey stained by a different mustard flavor.
Turn around,
What a lyric.
hang with your brother.
The entertainer.
I am fat.
Witness the ever-expanding waistline. A man who is now 107 pounds away from his intended weight.
I have a weird waist. I liked Michelangelo.
You've heard of the bearded woman. Now see the weirded waist. It's Mraz, the entertainer.
I have a weird waist.
Known as the Blob from the signature Blob's Bar. He's the entertainer.
It clears it.
He puts the buffoon in the year of the buffoon montage.
It's electric.
The entertainer.
Key Lardo, Key Lomo, ooh, my pretty mama, to Bahama, my mama.
Oh, our toll-free line is 855-212-4227. Quick Pivot, sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you. What are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. So I had this story all built about this Bulls rookie. He was a second-round draft pick who calls out his head coach and says, I don't really like him. And I'm wondering if this guy's going to be without a job once we have the NBA restart come around for the Bulls. We're obviously terrible. But we'll get to that coming up at the top of the hour because right now I've spent most of this segment just talking about Mraz as the entertainer. That's the entertainer's music to exit stage left here. So when we come back here on the DA Show, we will talk about college football, which has been saved by human analysis. We'll tell you how coming up here next. And that story about the Bulls rookie probably speaking out of turn. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
CBS Sports Radio. Live from CBS Radio Studios in New York City, it's the DA Show with your host, Damon Amendolara, featuring producer Mraz and the musical sounds of the Zap Zap Orchestra. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's DA.
Thanks so much for being with us on a fine Tuesday morning. It's a Trash Tuesday, so send us your trashes. This morning, we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. When you need an expert to help navigate the home loan process, Rocket can. On a Trash Tuesday, send us your trashes by tweeting at me, DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. I'll read through those trashes this hour here on the DA Show. Also, coming up in 20 minutes, the athletic director of formerly Division III St. Thomas in Minnesota. The Tommies are a Division III college football powerhouse, so dominant that their conference actually kicked them out, citing economic, or I should say, competitive disadvantage, uneven playing field. So the Tommies needed a new home. St. Thomas becomes the first ever university to go from Division III to Division I in one off season. That's the entertainer that you just heard. If you're going to cough and clear your throat, can you at least do it with the microphone off?
I thought I was down. I don't have the ability to turn it
on.
off.
What was that, Pete?
I told him he was on.
All right. As an entertainer.
Yeah. Okay. So St. Thomas's AD, Phil Eston, is going to join us coming up here in about 20 minutes from now to talk about this remarkable historic jump from Division III to Division I. So again, send us your tweets, and we'll get to those coming up here on the show. Also on the phones at 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So this story that I had last hour that I wanted to get to, how about this? Rookie Daniel Gafford of the Chicago Bulls is a second-round draft pick, okay? Now, we know that young athletes being on Twitch has not exactly been the safest mode of communication. Blake Snell, the Rays pitcher, was on Twitch, which is a platform where events are live streamed, essentially. In fact, you may be watching the DA show on Twitch coming sooner rather than later. But a lot of times it's used as a platform for people to play video games and have other people watch said person play video games. Or you're playing video games against other people, having conversations with other people, and that's also broadcast and then recorded. So Blake Snell's comments about not wanting to come back to play baseball unless he was getting paid, it was too dangerous, all of that happened on Twitch, which could be seen as an interpersonal conversation that's not supposed to be broadcast live, but is broadcasted live, and then a lot of people pick it up and it could be recorded. Well, yesterday, during a Twitch stream, Bulls rookie Daniel Gafford, who's a second-round pick, apparently took issue with his head coach, Jim Boylan. Quote, I'm going to answer this question, but I'm not going to read it out. As a matter of fact, you know what? I will read it out. Uh-oh. Do you like Jim Boylan? Gafford's response was, I don't like him a lot, but he's okay. Got some things he could work on. Got some things he could be better at as a person and as a coach. I'm not going to hate on him, though. I'm not going to hate the man. Okay, this is an interesting quote from Gafford because Jim Boylan, in his season plus in charge of the Bulls, is 39-84. And their season's over because they were not invited to the Disney World bubble for the seeding part of the season. So unless there is a second bubble that has all the really bad, junky teams in it, you're not going to see the Chicago Bulls play. But who is more valuable to a franchise? Is it a first-round draft pick or a head coach? It's always the first-round draft pick. But what about a second-round draft pick? I mean, you've got a second-round pick saying that the head coach, but I don't like him a lot. He okay, but he's got some things he can work on. As a person, I'd like to know exactly what those things are, because if you're a second-round draft pick, more often than not, you are disposable. And for a franchise like the Bulls that are this bad, maybe you're getting set to give Boylan the old heave-ho anyway, or maybe you're trying to clean house so that you have a stronger locker room. Maybe you're trying to find guys that get along with your head coach. There's a lot of different ways you can go. But oftentimes, there's not a lot of security for a second-round draft pick, usually non-guaranteed contracts. So if I'm Gafford, I'm avoiding ripping my head coach. I'm glad he said he okay. I'm glad he said I'm not going to hate him. I'm not going to hate the man. That's good. But when you say, I don't like him a lot, and there's things he can be better at as a person, I wonder how that's going to be received inside Bulls way. Meantime, on to college football. There was an interview done with Bill Hancock, commissioner of the college football playoff. Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com, wrote an interesting piece about how Bill Hancock views how this college football season may go. And instead of panicking, Bill Hancock, who is known as the most optimistic man in sports, said, quote, "When you're in the middle of a blizzard, you think it's going to snow forever. But it's not. August will get here." He's still optimistic that there's going to be a college football season. What is interesting is a lot of the what ifs. What if there is no conference championship games? What if we have regular seasons played, say 8 regular season games played for these conferences, no non-conference schedules, but no conference championship games? How do you know who to use as conference champions as a data point to go to the college football playoff? I mean, Bill Hancock is acting as though there's still going to be a college football playoff. He said the conference just says to the committee, here's our champion. So imagine this, that in the Big Ten, you have a team out of one side, a team out of the other side. Let's say it's Ohio State on one side and Wisconsin on the other side. They've got maybe the same regular season record. We're lining up for a potential Big Ten championship game, but the Big Ten title game is not played this year. Bill Hancock says Big Ten chooses its champion and gives it to us. Wow. That's kind of interesting, which, works a lot of the time because the human eye, the commissioner, the conference powers that be, the coaches, would have this kind of discussion. Okay, who is the best team in this conference? We hand this over to the college football playoff committee. Also, what happens if there's players that have been removed from the season for a couple of weeks because of the coronavirus, and in those games, the team's lost. But those players are back for a potential playoff. Hancock says, we'll only decide what happens on the field. If a player can't play due to the coronavirus, it's just going to be like that player is injured. If there isn't a full season for one conference, but there is for another conference, one conference ends up playing all 8 of its games, one conference has 6 games, or one team plays 8 games or 10 games, and one team plays 6 games or 7. What happens? Hancock says we're just going to be able to assess it with the eyeball test. He says the committee can discern, hey, they're good. That's why we have a committee. If this were simply data-driven, I'd have my doubts. If this wasn't a human committee, I wouldn't be as confident as I am. Now, when you think about this, this is really interesting because for college football, for many years, specifically in the 90s and 2000s, computers were used to discern, to decide who the best teams are. It was not supposed to be up to human beings, too much human error. So the data from the machines and the computers were supposed to be the best way to decide who were the best teams in college football. And what Bill Hancock is saying now is because we're humans, because it's not computers, we're better suited this year than ever. And you know what? He's right. In a crazy twist of fate, college football could be saved this year because of the human being factor. Now, I don't know if we even get to college football playoff. I'd love to think it. I'd love to dream it. I'd love just to think that we're going to get a college football season, however that looks. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of questions because it's college and not the pros. Namely, there's no union. So you can't negotiate with a union what the safety protocols are going to be. You have so many different conferences. You don't have one uniform safety protocol. So you've got a lot of what ifs, a lot of this team can do this school can do this school can't do this. A lot of different financial components here, a lot of different budgets. If one school says we can test every day, one school says we can only test once a week. Can you play games against one another? It's a lot of different potential pitfalls in trying to get a college football season done. But I hope that it can get done. I hope that it is done. And I hope that we get a college football playoff. But I love this idea that the greatest twist of fate, the greatest irony ever, that college football is saved this year because humans pick the best teams. And it's true. If you've got all of these different realities for all of these different schools, TCU is 6-0, but they've only played 6 games. Meantime, Penn State is 8-1. They played 9 games. Meantime, we can't figure out who the SEC champ is, so the SEC has to give the committee who the champion is based on point differential, common opponent, something like that. These are the things that would take humans to say, okay, well, critical thinking would say this instead of this instead of this team instead of this team, instead of computers that wouldn't have that ability. Humans could be here to save the day. And speaking of college football, we'll talk to AD of St. Thomas, Phil Eston, who's jumping from D3 to D1 coming up here in just a couple of minutes. It's also a Trash Tuesday, and so let's do some trashes here. Alien OG tweets, I'm trashing my now ex-girlfriend. She lost her job back in April. She became crazy and raging, who liked to text her ex-boyfriend while I'm at work every day paying the bills. She makes AB look like JCDA. She gone, and my world is way better. Hashtag trash her.
Total wasteoid.
Wow. That's a lot of action. Rob tweets, what happens to no shirt, no service? I'm trashing the guy who insists on not wearing a shirt in the convenience store. Great. You've got 6-pack abs. I don't. In an era where masks are mandatory, so are shirts, bud. Put your dating shirt on in public because nobody cares. Hashtag Chubbo Nation. Trash 'em.
Stinky debris.
Bravo.
Rob tweets, I'm trashing everybody on the DA show for putting the image of Mraz with no pants in my head. Trash us.
Let's face it. That's straight trash.
And I got an oopsie.
John tweets, we're trashing people who park at handicapped spaces. They don't have a handicap sticker in the window. Come on. Trash them.
Are those maggots?
Ray tweets, I'm trashing the 3-headed boss at the local DPW I work with at North Tonawanda, that's in Western New York, that have about 2/5 of a brain between the 3 of them, with only 1/4 of that said brain outside of their ass. Hashtag get these fools a clue.
Charlie Sheen just dumped that on the set of Men at Work.
There's a lot of math there.
Yeah, that really was more math than I was accustomed to. Chuck tweets, I'm trashing the Washington Football Club owner Dan Snyder daily until his wife files for divorce and hopefully tries to gain control of the team. Trash Dan Snyder.
Hefty, hefty, hefty.
Jeremy tweets, I'm trashing an unnamed mask company ordered online on June the 30th of an in-stock item with 1 to 2 for shipping. Finally shipped 3 weeks after purchase. Then either the post office lost the package or the truck caught fire. Hashtag get everyone out.
Hold your nose. That's some smelly rubbish.
Okay, when we come back, this crazy college football dynamic of a D3 school going to D1 in one off season. Their AD is next. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We are the glitch in the simulation.
You are a giant pile of trash.
DA on CBS Sports Radio.
It's a Trash Tuesday here on the show, so send us your trashes by tweeting at me, DA on CBS. Our toll-free line, 855-212-4227, sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit, car, motorcycle, and RV policies, on top of what Geico could already save you? What are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. Listen to us across the great CBS Sports Radio Network on our hundreds of affiliates nationwide and north of the border. Also on Sirius XM Channel 206, and stream us using the CBS Sports app. St. Thomas football has competed in Division III, and they are so dominant, their conference said, "You're too good for us." They have been 126-21 in the past 8 seasons. More than 100 games over 500 in the last 8 years, with a pair of NCAA championship appearances as well. And so that was Division III. They're heading to Division I, and they'll be playing football in the Pioneer League, D1. And so D3 to D1 has never been done in one fell swoop. Joining us here on the show is their athletic director, leading the way on this, Phil Eston. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, DA. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
My first question is, when the conference said, hey, you guys can't be here anymore, you're too good, what was the school's reaction?
Well, I started at St. Thomas about 18 months ago and walked into a conversation among presidents that was exactly that. They were looking to level competitive parity, and on those conversations ultimately decided that one way to do that was what I'll just call conference realignment, and we were realigned out. And so our reaction essentially was we need to hustle to find a place to go. We only had 2 years to find a conference. Certainly had a couple of really good options at the Division III level, possibly competing at the Division II level. But about 2 months into our assessment, we learned that there might be a path to move directly to Division I. And when you take a look at our institution, University of St. Thomas's profile, looks a lot like schools do at the Division I level, a lot like the schools do in the Pioneer Football League, schools like Butler and Drake and San Diego and Valparaiso and others, and Dayton. And so we decided to give it a try. Although it's not been done before, we thought that we might have a compelling case. And here we are 14 months later, preparing to make the transition next year.
There's no doubt the Tommies have been thoroughly dominant. Here's some of the scores from last season's football campaign. 69-3, 74-14, 51-6, 53-0, 63-15, 56-7. Some would say, well, yeah, you can't be competing at that level, but it's not like the Tommies went undefeated every single season. Mm-hmm. There was 2 losses last year as well, and it's not like every single year it's an undefeated campaign. So was there some sentiment within the university like, hey, we are losing games here. It is possible we can be beaten. Why are we getting kicked out for being too good?
Yeah, I'd say for us, we really took a look at this as an institutional decision. And when you look at our institution relative to other institutions in the state, we're the second largest university in the state of Minnesota, the largest private school in the state of Minnesota. And for us, the decision to try to make this transition to Division I was as much about institutional brand reach, recognition, and telling our story a little more broadly than local or regional boundaries than we've done traditionally. And so really an opportunity for us to extend our brand. And when you think about the Pioneer Football League, it's a coast-to-coast conference. It's the only coast-to-coast conference there is at the Division I level. And so we're really excited to be able to tell that story, to get into some of those markets and recruit a little bit differently than we've been able to do before. So that's we looked at it as an institutional decision, not necessarily from just a competitive perspective.
Phil Eston is the AD of St. Thomas, and he's talking about the Pioneer League, which has members from San Diego, University of San Diego, all the way to Marist, which is in the Hudson Valley of New York. So truly coast to coast. Now, it's a non-scholarship league, and you guys have been non-scholarship at Division III as well. So was that attractive to you to go to a league that had non-scholarship programs?
Yeah, a couple of things were attractive to us from the Pioneer Football League perspective. One was certainly that transition we felt would be easier for us to make non-scholarship to non-scholarship. There are only 2 conferences at the Division I level that compete in non-scholarship football. That's the Pioneer Football League and the Ivy League. And so it's good company to keep, in my opinion. And so, that certainly was a transition that was attractive. Secondly, the schools in that conference do look a lot like the University of St. Thomas. Almost all but one, are private institutions. Again, Dayton and Stetson and Marist and Valparaiso and Butler and Drake, San Diego and others. And so we felt like that was a good fit. And then, as I said before, the ability to get into the Southern California and New York and Florida and Charlotte market at Davidson and others, all the way in between, was also really attractive to us. So there were several factors that really lined up. But I'd say most of all was just the alignment from an institutional perspective. Schools that do take football seriously but do it at a non-scholarship level in Division I FCS.
Now, doesn't seem like you're one to beat your chest or to pump your program up too much, but this is kind of a funny dynamic for the listeners. If you were to tell most people this is a program going from Division III to Division I, most listeners would say, oh, man, they're going to get pummeled for a while here. And yet,
sure,
there are coaches in the Pioneer League saying, no. We can't have St. Thomas come in. They're too good. Is this amazing to you to hear Division I coaches worried that maybe you're too good for them?
Well, I think that's some of that is just taking a look at the commitment that St. Thomas has had to excellence over the years, whether it's academic excellence or athletic excellence. Certainly our facilities already look a lot like the facilities across the Pioneer Football League. So we think that, we'll have competitive facilities pretty quickly. And also, a lot of the student athletes that we've got on our team right now had been recruited from a Division I perspective. Some FCS scholarship, some Pioneer Football League, and for whatever reason made the decision to come to the University of St. Thomas. So we already have a roster that some, not all, some could compete at the Division I level. And so, my sense is that, we're not going into this with our eyes closed at all. Our eyes are wide open. We've got a ways to go until we're competitive across the board in the Pioneer Football League. But I think if we do things right, we can get there. We can be competitive pretty quickly.
What I think is also interesting, you noted this, it's probably got a lot of people to say, wow, I didn't realize that the St. Thomas is the second biggest university in the state of Minnesota behind only University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. So with that in mind, are there plans within your school, both athletically and academically, to grow into a recognizable brand and to continue to grow enrollment? Or do you like being the size of the school that you're at?
Yeah, I think the size of the school that we have right now, undergraduate enrollment of about 6,200, total enrollment with graduate students right around 10,000 is a pretty good size for us. We just added a College of Health, and so we may see enrollment grow a little bit. But interestingly, we're only one of six states nationally to have only one or fewer Division I athletic programs in the state, yet we're the 22nd largest state in the country. We reside in the 15th largest media market in the country, in the metropolitan area in the country. And so, I certainly believe that our community, our marketplace is ready to support a second Division I program. The University of Minnesota certainly has a stronghold on the state, and they will. They've got a fantastic brand. But, again, I mentioned this earlier, as we think about the future of the university and its trajectory, certainly is of interest to us to grow that brand recognition nationally, whether that's stabilizing enrollment in the future or the ability to slightly grow enrollment over time. But it's as much about stabilizing our university's, enrollment and financial position over time as it is anything else.
Phil Eston joins us, athletic director at St. Thomas. Let's ask you the question about the here and the now. Every college football fan is wondering, what does college football look like this season? Mm-hmm. From where you sit, what does college football look like for you this season?
Sure. Our conference has taken the position that we are going to continue to assess what's happening with COVID and both local and national guidelines around testing protocols and making sure that we bring our student athletes back in a safe way. And that's, of course, our very first priority, making sure that our student athletes, the health and welfare of our student athletes. I can tell you with the NCAA's guidelines around testing that were released late last week, I think it's going to be very difficult for a lot of football programs, particularly at the Division III level, maybe Division II level, I can't say for sure, to be able to afford to do that. Testing certainly has some scarcity to it, and there's a cost to testing. And with the frequency and pace at which the NCAA has suggested we do test our student athletes, and again, it's all for their health and welfare, it's going to be difficult for a lot of schools to afford that. And so I think we're getting close to a place where it's going to become really, really difficult for schools to compete in the fall. I think the good news is the NCAA has been really flexible in looking at whether or not we can continue to practice and work out in the fall, giving us an opportunity to protect our student athletes. One of the things that I worry about is if we had, we've taken the spring off and have spring football. If we take fall off, we really need to think about injury prevention as we roll into the spring next year. And even if we can move our season from the fall to the spring, we've got to do everything that we can to protect our student athletes from an injury perspective too. And so it's important to me that we find a way, even if it's pods or small groups or whatever, to continue to work out in the fall despite whether we have a season or not. But I think it's becoming more and more difficult to envision a fall season, particularly at the Division III level.
I know you're short on time, so this could be a quick one, but are you open-minded to a spring football season?
Without a doubt. For me, I want to make sure that our student athletes have an opportunity to compete this year. And first and foremost, like I said before, is their health and welfare. Would like to do it in the fall, but if for some reason we can't do it in the fall, we'd certainly look to do that in the spring if we can. As we've discussed here, this is our last year at the Division III level, and we've been in this conference, the MIAC, for 100 years. And despite the fact that the circumstances are what they are, we'd really like to celebrate that century-long history with our colleagues in the conference. And we'd like to do it on the playing field if we can. And so if there's a way for us to compete in the spring, we certainly would take advantage of that.
Phil Eston is the AD at St. Thomas. They are making the jump from Division III to Division I. What a remarkable growth this should be, and what a really interesting college football and sports story in general to keep your eye on. Phil, this was really cool. Thanks so much. That's a great conversation. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Phil Eston, AD, St. Thomas in the St. Paul area of Minnesota. What an interesting story. And I love hearing an AD say, absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, we are open for spring football if that's what it's going to take. I love hearing that. As I railed on the college power brokers last year. I always worry that there's not enough forward-thinking, outside-the-box thinking when it comes to college football. It is so rooted in tradition and the way that it's always been. So to hear an AD say, without a doubt, I'm open to spring football if we can make that work, I love hearing that because I think it takes creative, outside-the-box thinking these days to find good solutions. And the fall might just not work for college football for a lot of those universities for the reasons that he kind of laid out there. Brad Heller has our headlines this morning. He is our headlines anchor and dessert coordinator. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, DA. This report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. The NFL and the Players Association have finally agreed on the COVID-19 testing protocols as all rookies are now reporting to training camp today. Players will be tested every day for the first 2 weeks of camp. After that, if the positive test rate for players, coaches, and staff is below 5%, it'll move to every other day. Also, the NFL's now proposing no preseason games, something the players have been asking for all along. The NBA bubble is doing its job right now. 346 players tested in the last week and 0 positive tests. LeBron James was asked what life has been like inside.
Feels like a big old AAU tournament for grown men. And, so you take it and you enjoy it, and we get to do what we love to do, and that's play the game of basketball and be with our teammates and brothers. So it's all good.
The seeding games are 10 days away. A week from Thursday, Lakers, Clippers, and Jazz Pelicans will be up first. Meanwhile, only 2 NHL players have tested positive since training camps opened a week ago. The teams will travel to the hub cities on Sunday. San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler joined several of his players in taking a knee during the national anthem last night.
I told them that I wanted to amplify their voices, and I wanted to amplify the voice of the Black community and marginalized communities as well.
Kapler, courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area. He's the first MLB manager to take a knee. He did not say how often he was going to kneel during the regular season. One other note from that Giants-A's exhibition game, Alyssa Nacken coached first base for the Giants, becoming the first woman to coach in an on-field capacity during a major league game. DA.
Thank you, Brad. Our phone number is 855-212-4227 or on Twitter, DA on CBS. We've got this date in Mothership history coming up here next. We go back 4 years and my take on Pokemon Go. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Three, two, one. This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. If you're squinting at the NFL right now, can't quite make out what you're looking at, it's because we've never seen it. That rare and endangered animal is a league office that's placating the players. The union wasn't happy with safety protocols. Quickly, the league... Three, two, one. This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. If you're squinting at the NFL right now, can't quite make out what you're looking at, it's because we've never seen it. That rare and endangered animal is a league office that's placating the players. You know, the union wasn't happy with safety protocols. Quickly, the league office agreed with the players to daily testing over the first 2 weeks of camp. Owners wanted 2 preseason games. Players wanted 0. Reportedly, the league said, okay, no exhibition games. So what gives? When is it ever this easy? Maybe because the league wants concessions on the financial end and are willing to do what it takes to make more money always. And maybe also because they see what happened to baseball with a brutal labor battle during coronavirus. Either way, catch it now because we may never see it again. This is Damon Amendolara.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Come on, step inside. It's this date in mothership history.
All right, so let's go back 4 years ago where I assessed the craze of Pokemon Go.
So I'm saying, you know, what's the answer, though, when you're in rural America, you know, you're just standing in a cornfield on the game. What do I do? What do I do here in the heartland of the country? How do I make my Pokemon strong?
Well, that's a great question, Trucker Ryan. How do you make your Pokemon Go game strong when you're in the middle of rural America? Here's your first piece of advice. Do not play the game while driving. Late last night in upstate New York, a driver playing Pokemon Go swerved off the road and hit a tree. The dude was 28 years old, trying to catch a Pokemon on his phone at around 11 p.m. Distracted by the game, he drove his car off the roadway, crashed into the tree, luckily not seriously injured, but his car crumpled in. In the wake of the crash, police are urging the public to use common sense when playing Pokemon Go. The police said, quote, "Don't play the game while driving a car or bike. Do not trespass on private property just to catch a Pokemon. Avoid staring at your phone and be aware of hazards like roadways, drop-offs, and waterways. Be cautious of who you share your location with and do not travel alone while playing Pokemon Go." You win. Seems
to me, playing Pokemon Go is one of the most dangerous activities you could possibly do in today's day and age, so I might encourage you just not to do it. I don't know how addicting it is to go catch your Squirtles and your Pikachus, okay? I have no idea.
She's a bad girl, Damon.
But I know this. If you're driving, don't play. If you're in the middle of the woods, don't play. If you're near roadways, don't play. If you're near bodies of water, don't play. If there's a girl to talk to within 10 miles, don't play. If you have anybody else to speak to hang out with, to do any activity with, don't play. I mean, it strikes me, you might as well just not play. Remember the Pokemon Go craze of 4 summers ago? Where people were walking around like zombies and you saw them chasing Pikachus, invisible characters from Pokemon, and you're like, what are these people doing? That is your This Date in Mothership History. Little reminder that the DA Show has a game plan for success sponsored by Napa. Taking a look at the Houston Astros, their game plan for success, this year's 60-game MLB sprint. Put the cheating scandal behind them. That's easier said than done. Dusty Baker and company could use it as a source of motivation, perhaps. Keep the rotation healthy. No Garrett Cole, so that means Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke lead the charge. And get some production out of outfielder Kyle Tucker in the likely absence of Yordan Alvarez to start the season. Whether you stop by a locally owned Napa Auto Parts, Napa Auto Care, or Napa Online, if you need help with your ride, you can count on Napa Know-How. That Pokemon Go thing was crazy, and it reminds me, Mraz, that New York City is one of the most dangerous places on earth if you're not paying attention. There is just something happening all of the time. It's either a cab, it's either an Uber, it could be a bus, it could be a cyclist. If you're on a subway platform, it's moving trains. There are so many things happening. Rush hour, you've got people stampeding towards you. You've got road closures because of construction. You've got Times Square. You've got Brooklyn Bridges. You've got parks. People are just everywhere all of the time. Not anymore. It's a dead zone now, but before pandemic. And to add on top of that Pokemon Go, when you watch somebody, and look, I'm certain I've been guilty of this as well, but when you're texting on the street, or you're looking at something on the street, you're tweeting, or you're looking at a story on the street, and you're just walking, man, there is so much that could potentially go terribly awry for you. But then add on to it. So the activity of texting or being on your phone is, you are locked into that as you do a secondary thing like walk to your car or walk to a subway or walk to a place where you're going to eat or walk somewhere. That's what you're doing. You're texting as you're walking or you're texting as you wait. So at the very least, there's a direction that you know you're supposed to be going as you do it. Not making it good, but it is what it is. With Pokemon Go, you're looking at your phone, but you're actively chasing things that aren't there.
Yes.
So imagine instead of walking to, the diner to go get lunch or walking to work where you happen to know where it is, you're suddenly chasing a Squirtle in the middle of the street. You're looking at your phone and then you're chasing a Pikachu that just went inside a manhole cover. I mean, it's amazing we didn't have more deaths in New York City during the summer of Pokemon Go.
It was insane, DA, so much so that there's an area by me on Long Island called Argyle Lake. It's not one of these big lakes. I don't know if it's saltwater, freshwater. We won't get into here nor there.
Definitely
and
fresh.
They had to call police officers in during the height of Pokemon Go to secure that area because one doofus went to chase whatever you said, like a Squirtle, whatever the heck that was, and ended up nearly drowning in the lake because he wasn't paying attention and just literally walked shoulder deep into the water, didn't know how to swim because he was trying to catch this thing. Could you imagine being so oblivious that you don't realize your sneakers, ankles, knees, like you keep getting deeper and deeper into this water? To do that, they had to patrol the whole area, and it lasted at least a good month. And you would drive by and go, I can't believe that they don't have anything better to do than to walk around this stupid lake trying to catch things on their phone.
Yeah.
I had people leave there's a strip of bars over there. People would leave drinking and go, we're going to go fetch some Pokemon. We'd be in the middle of beers. Like, where you go? What are you talking about? You go, well, I haven't been to the village in a while. There's different Pokemon here that I need to catch.
How humiliating to leave a social activity to go catch Pokemons.
How pathetic. How pathetic. And frankly, by the way, I think we were 4 years too early on that app because that would be the thing everybody would be doing just to get out and go for a walk while they were locked down. If Pokemon Go was a thing, you'd have way more people being active and just getting some fresh air and have their mind off the fact that they were locked inside.
It's so true.
It 4 years.
Right now, Pokemon Go would be the most popular thing in New York City because it's like I Am Legend in New York City. There's grass growing in the middle of the streets right now. Will Smith is chasing down lions in the middle of Manhattan. Nothing's going on. Now you could actually safely play Pokemon Go in Manhattan.
I said the same DA when I went in last Monday. I'm driving through the streets. I go, what happened to this place? It's not how I remember it. This is not what Manhattan used to be.
Tumbleweeds rolling across 6th Avenue.
I'm gunning it through the yellow lights. There's nobody on the road.
There's like a coyote on top of the post office. Wow. Things really changed.
Broken down cab on the sidewalk.
It is a Trash Tuesday, so send us your trashes. Jeff tweets, I'm trashing coffee in the morning. All I want to do is perk up for work. Instead, I'm running to the bathroom so that I don't have a Mraz oopsie situation. Hashtag America runs on dumping.
Hold your nose. That's some smelly rubbish.
Patrick tweets, I'm trashing Mraz for assuming everything on earth is learned at a class, going back to his rooster not laying eggs knowledge. He must have missed that class where it's not socially acceptable to shave your body hair on the front lawn. Hashtag Chubbo.
Warning, hazardous material.
DA follow-up, big discussion last night, Danielle's cousin's birthday. 6 people there did not know, 5 people there did know. It was a big straw poll.
No.
Yes.
No. 6 people didn't know that roosters didn't lay eggs?
5 people did know. My wife was one of the people that claimed she did know, but 6 people did not know, and it became a big hot topic. Where would you even learn that if you're not on a farm? It became a big discussion at this family gathering last night I was at.
Look, I don't want to discredit or criticize your family because, by and large, your family's been great to me.
No. This is Danielle's family, so have fun.
But your social circle is devastatingly stupid.
Fair.
How could there be 11 people and the majority didn't know that roosters don't lay eggs?
It was close to a 50-50 split, I'll give you that. But I'm telling you, it got heated. And the people that did know were very angry at those that didn't. And the ones that didn't were just kind of like, how would you even know that? Where did you even come across that info unless you've studied it?
Well, I mean, think about our poll that we had on Twitter and Facebook when we asked this question last week, and it was 95-5. So 5% said I didn't know, and that was an anonymous poll. These are people admitting openly that they don't know. So that's even scarier. An anonymous poll suggests that would be a little bit more truthful. You're talking about 6 people wave their hand and say, yeah, I didn't know a rooster didn't lay eggs. That is terrifying.
But by one of the people that did know, he did ask me to pose this question. I'm just going to wait for Bogdan to pose it to you. Do you know the difference between a bull and a steer?
I would not know that.
Okay. They're both male cows. The
Right.
difference is a steer has lost its package.
Oh, okay. So a bull can still procreate, but a steer is neutered.
See?
Neutered. Okay, male cow. Okay, that's good.
So this show has led to family gatherings where we have more zoo conversations and learn things after understanding the rooster.
Patrick tweets, I'm trashing the outfielders in the Peter Schwartz home run video.
Oh, no.
They were playing right behind second base as it flies over their heads. Playing in normal position, they probably could have fielded it and thrown him out at first base. Hashtag stay. Hashtag stay.
That deserves a trash can emoji.
They're putting the shift on Jared Schwartz.
There has been multiple conversations that we've had behind the scenes on the Peter Schwartz home run videos. He has now posted 1 double into the gap that his son hit and 1 home run. Now, you're right about the double into the gap. You would think that if the outfielders were playing properly, there was a play at first base. Stay, stay, stay. But also in the home run that his son hit. And, of course, because Schwartz keeps posting videos of his kids do everything, he's considering these sporting events. I'm wondering if they're playing inside a bubble at Levittown Little League. Okay.
Testing twice a week.
Now, I think there's a snitch hotline for the Little League of Levittown. Okay, make sure that these kids are safe.
You went to Miller's Ale House without a mask.
So, as Mraz pointed out, there was no infield that young Schwartz was running around after he hit his home run. And so I noticed that they were playing from third base. That basically third base was home plate. They were hitting to the outfield. That's not a real home run. Now, Cap, the magic fingers of Watch DA, feels like it was a legitimate home run. But, the rest of us feel like there's shenanigans being played there, that is not a proper home run. So now we've got Schwartz taking victory laps for his son hitting a Fugazi home run from third base. When will it end, Mraz? When will it end?
As Joey Waller, our friend, said, that kid's a young Pete Incaviglia, the way he's got power right now.
When we come back here on the show, are the bubbles the safest place on earth?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Wake up, mister. Shining up a brand new day. It's such a good vibration. Hot temptation. It's such a
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, what's up, DA? Permission to enter the mothership, brother.
Ever heard a sports talk show like this before? Didn't think so.
What's going on, Dirty?
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
DA, how you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm feeling great.
I'm doing great.
Happy Tuesday. One question only. How do you feel?
I feel good, and I'm doing well.
That's all that really matters. And we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. When you need an expert to help navigate the home loan process, Rocket can. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Trash Tuesday. Send us your trashes. Tweet at me, DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. Reading through trashes all morning long. We are stunned to a news coming up in 20 minutes from now. Stunned to a news. So the bubbles right now feel like the safest place on earth. This is kind of amazing. We've had some real breakthroughs over the last 24 hours when it comes to sports and safety in sports. For the NFL, the NFLPA over the weekend had a bunch of players, very notable players led by Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, amongst others, tweeting that the NFL didn't have a clear safety and testing protocol, and that without it, the players weren't playing. No football, simple as that. Guess what happened yesterday? The owners and the league came forward to the union about daily testing for the first 2 weeks of training camp, which is set to start early next week. Players said, you got it. Wow, that was quick. That was easy. Originally, the owners had 4 preseason games. They lopped off the first and the fourth. They wanted to hold on to the middle 2. The players have said, no preseason games. We don't want to play preseason games. Yesterday, reportedly, the league said, okay, you know what? No preseason games. Wow. That was easy. We never see that happen, ever. Now, it's not all fun and games. My guess is that the owners are going to give easily on this end of safety and wellness with the hopes that they can win financial gains. But how about also the safety aspect of the other sports? The NBA, with a bubble in Disney World, in Orlando, and a state that is one of the craziest states right now with positive tests, tested 350 players inside the Orlando bubble. You know how many positives the NBA bubble had? 0. 350 players tested inside the bubble. 0. Wow. How about hockey? Again, a league that is going to Canada for 2 bubbles, one in Edmonton, one in Toronto. Camps have opened, okay? And since camps have opened, they've tested more than 800 players. 2 positives. 2. These are amazing numbers. Absolutely amazing. MLS had to send 2 teams home. They've now played a week and a half worth of soccer. They haven't had to shut down any games, send anybody else home, forfeit any games. Inside these bubbles have been huge wins. Huge. Who knows what it means for baseball? Let's cross our fingers and hope that even though baseball's not playing inside a bubble, they can pull it off safely. Let's hope that the NFL is the same way. But right now, what we're learning is the bubbles are a success, at least to this point in time. Now, who knows? One person gets inside the bubble with it, maybe that blows up everything. A groupie sneaks in the back door at the Floridian, and who knows? Maybe all hell breaks loose in the NBA bubble. But right now, you're talking about 800 hockey players, 350 NBA players. That's over 1,000 players tested. 2 positives. 2. The bubble is working, and that's a huge win. A huge win. Might feel weird for the NBA to play at Disney World facilities. It might feel weird for the Rangers to have a home game in Toronto. It might feel weird for the MLS to play an entire tournament outside of some weird building in Disney World. But if there's no negative, if there are no positive tests, and we're playing and getting these sports played even without fans, man, that's a huge win. It's a huge win. And look, I think we'd all love the idea of no snitch hotline, and we'd like the idea that players just taking it seriously. And I think this shows that's the case. Now, who knows? Maybe players become lazy as things go on. Maybe you take things for granted. Maybe things loosen up. Maybe that's when, you can find some problems. But at the moment, hockey players and basketball players are taking this seriously. And that's huge for sports. Because as we talked about yesterday, let's even take us out of it, okay? The fans that want the games back. Look, if there's no positive tests, they got to keep playing games, and we get to keep watching games. Great. We win. But from a player standpoint, if you don't have positive tests, you're not worried about contracting it while playing games, while practicing with your teammates, while going through your normal, everyday routine of being a professional athlete. I don't blame any of these athletes for having some fear going into this. What does it look like? What happens here? What happens if somebody has it and I'm guarding them, or I'm tackling them, or I'm checking them? What happens if it happens inside my locker room and I'm changing next to that person? What happens if I'm traveling next to that person? I totally get that. These are unique and new situations. And if you got a little bit of worry, a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, I get that. So to have these tests come back and the overwhelming number are negative it allows the players the freedom of not worrying, not being paranoid, not feeling like you're going into a battle zone. It's absolutely enormous. To hear these numbers is such a victory. 800 hockey players, 2 positives. 350 NBA players, 0 positives. The bubbles work. The players are taking it seriously. The stories, the games, the sports can now live. It's great. It's absolutely great. Hit me up on Twitter, DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. And for the NFL, if they're going to acquiesce here, no preseason games and testing every single day for the first 2 weeks, they're hell-bent on having a season. They're hell-bent on playing this season. And to see these many negative tests also has got to empower the NFL to feel like, hey, we can pull it off. Again, football's a different beast, but these are really positive trends for sports. While the rest of America's dealing with negative trends, thankfully the sports world's dealing with really positive trends. I mean, imagine that the states like Texas, Florida, Arizona, where there's been some major spikes, have had this percentage of negative tests. 0 positives out of 800 people, or 2 positives, or 2 positives out of 800, or 0 out of 350. Man, we'd all be dancing a jig. So this is really, really good news. And for football, there is now a fall where looks like we won't have new primetime television shows for them to compete with. Sounds like Hollywood's going to push off production until later in the fall, maybe even into January. So football realizes, hey, Sunday nights, Monday nights, Thursday nights, we have live programming to ourselves. Let's take advantage of it. Let's play these games, and let's crush the ratings numbers. These are all good signs for sports fans wanting the games to be back. It is a Trash Tuesday, so send us your trashes. Tweet at me, DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. Ray tweets, I'm trashing myself for having any confidence in Mraz figuring out percentages. So instead, I'm trashing these dirtbags that have so many maggots in their garbage cans that it looks like they rain out when the cans are dumped out. Clean your cans. Trash them.
Are those maggots?
Yeah, Mraz isn't great with the percentages and the stuff.
But what does that mean? He wanted to give me a maggot percentage? I'm so confused by that.
No, he's just, instead of his original trash, I think he's also trashing the maggot people.
Gotcha.
Manny in PA tweets, I'm trashing the homeowner whose house I was in yesterday replacing the AC, was having corona symptoms and didn't tell us until after we went in. So trash her.
Beep, beep. Oh. Sanitation just arrived.
Oy, not good.
Go get a test. Just go get a test. That's it. Go up the block and get a test.
Clee Gonzo tweets, I'm trashing the Walmart manager who showed up an hour late because her alarm didn't go off. Is this high school? Her alarm didn't go off? I don't know, DA. I think the question would have been, how many beers did she have last night? Hashtag, how many beers ago? Trash her.
That will contribute to the microplastics in the bottom of the ocean.
Kurt tweets, I'm trashing the city of Memphis and specifically the ass clown who stole $400 out of my bank account. Aren't we all suffering enough without you actively contributing to misery in the world? Hashtag, get a real job.
Is Oscar the Grouch living in there?
So stupid.
Rob tweets, by the way, Primanti Brothers coleslaw is not actual coleslaw. It has vinegar and sugar instead of mayo. So it's not creamy. It's great with Frank's Red Hot. Oh, my.
Yeah, but there's a vinegar slaw, there's mayo slaw, there's different versions of coleslaw. They're all great as toppings. It's kind of like Carolina barbecue and Kansas City barbecue. There's different types of sauces.
God, I need some barbecue. I have not had good barbecue in a long time. It's taking me out of my comfort zone with my normal go-to barbecue slots that aren't even that great compared to living in Kansas City, but I do it because I love barbecue so much. But boy, I could really use some really good barbecue. But quarantine's really put a crimp in my barbecue game, if you know what I mean.
You don't have enough good barbecue up there? Even you don't have one spot within a 15-mile radius you can get to go for?
No.
I would also say barbecue I don't think travels well. Kind of like the Saints in a playoff game. You need to eat it there. You get a barbecue to go. Once it gets in that styrofoam, that brisket loses all sense of flavor.
Totally right. Kyle tweets, I'm trashing New York public schools. How did Mraz not take a field trip to a farm? Also, I don't care if AB ever plays again. He's doing the Conor McGregor thing. He just wants attention. Trash AB too while we're at it. Hashtag when a man loves a woman. Trash him.
Overflowing landfill.
He went to a couple days at a lake. I think he's going to be back tomorrow. Relax.
Yes, Kyle is tweeting trashing Antonio Brown, not
Andrew Bogusch. Sorry, Bogusch was just in our. For some reason, I thought he meant Bogusch.
I like the idea that Bogusch is doing the quote Conor McGregor thing. He just wants attention.
I don't know why. I just thought he meant Bogusch.
I'm not in my head like yes.
So for the record, the backstory to this morning is Bogusch has woken up today to trash Pete the Body. He trashed Pete the Body for texting him at 5:15 yesterday morning about scheduling, a question that AB had brought up last Friday in the afternoon. So Bellotti took the weekend off, then sent a text to Bogusch about this question at 5:15 in the morning, and Bogusch is off on vacation this week. So Bogusch is saying, stop texting me at 5:15 while I'm on vacation. So this has now led to a real disagreement here on the show. And Pete has retrashed Bogusch, saying that, you know what, sleep with your phone off, then you wouldn't have these problems. Now, Dixieland Dan has weighed in about it, about who is guilty here. And he says, of course, Pete the Body is in the wrong here. Unless there's some kind of emergency at the studio that only Bogusch can fix, leave the man alone. He's on vacation. The last thing anyone wants to do to discuss while taking a break from work is work. Now, Mraz, you found Pete the Body guilty of an unnecessary early text, but you said it's a slap on the wrist violation, not a throw you in jail violation.
Yeah, I do think Bogusch's early wake-up actions do hurt him here. Number two, Bogusch did not take a full week off. He is back tomorrow, so said scheduling still would affect Bogusch coming up as early as tomorrow. So within the last 48 hours, I do think it's fair game if it involves Bogusch at work that Pete alerts him to something. I just think that 5:15, you probably could have waited till 9 in the morning, something like that.
Now, Bogusch is so wound up today, he's jumped on our G-Chat. And this is an inter-show G-Chat behind the scenes, and yet he has used this to also continue his war against Pete, saying, for the record, my kids are allowed to wake me up at any time. Pete is not allowed to wake me up at 5:15 in the morning. Oh. Kaplan, in response, has posted a GIF of The Undertaker waking up out of a coffin.
Well, you know what? Enough, Bogusch. I've really had it with jumping on the G-Chat. If you're really on vacation, how about you send your tweet out, and that's it. He has to continue the conversation, and it's still a problem for him. He just can't get over it. I mean, if I can't alert him to something in the morning, and he's up in the morning, I mean, come on. Give me a break.
Well, Pete, let me also just add, because maybe you're digging yourself a hole here. I had your back in a second. You will be off towards the end of August. You well-deserved time off. You've been going in and out of the city for us and all of that. If DA, myself, or Bogusch pester you at 5:15 when we're up preparing with the show with questions about where stuff might be or something like that, are you going to be agitated, or are you going to wake up at, say, 8, 9 o'clock and go, hey, no problem, guys, sorry I was sleeping, here's this?
No, I'll respond to it, and I'll have no problem with it.
Will you be agitated that we texted you at 5:15?
Well, I won't be up at 5:15. I'll make sure to have my alerts off.
But if that's the first thing you see when you wake up and you see that we texted you at 5:15, will there be agitation?
No. I won't be agitated at that. It's for the betterment of the show.
So if somebody takes too long ordering a sandwich at the deli, you trash them on Trash Tuesday full of agitation, but you will not be agitated if you wake up to a text from us while you are off.
I won't. If someone needs help or needs a hand with something, and when I get up and I see the message, I'll let them know where it is.
I got to be honest, Pete. This is one of those I'll believe it when I see it. There's no way of proving it. Maybe we could get a webcam on you at all times when you're sleeping, but I think there will be a sense of agitation. I really do.
Well, I'm glad to hear your opinion. Thank you very much.
Pete has responded to Bogusch on G-Chat by saying, why are you even on this chat during vacation? Go to the bank for your toll money, get a bagel, hit the road. Which I love the hit the road. Bogusch has responded, toll jokes? It's 2020. I've got Easy Pass, and I'm in the bathroom currently doing my business.
See, right there. That's a big support for me of not getting suspended if Bogusch could be interacting with us while he's on the throne.
You were on the air.
This is all tying together here. Pete's digging himself a grave. I'm getting more of a defense. This thing's gotten out of control.
Things usually do around here. I think we need a bubble.
I can give Bogusch the rest of the week off, too. I mean, he's really not putting himself in favor with me.
No, I need Bogusch at the end of the week. I'll get exposed if TA's off.
When we come back here on the show, we are stunned to a news. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Three, 2, 1. This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. In the greatest twist of fate, college football may be saved. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good value, big upside.
I remember you when you would come on NFL AM, and I would have to come on after you, which is tough. It's like, going on at the Comedy Store after Seinfeld or something. Like, I don't want to follow DA.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
Tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, CBS Sports Network serves you an ace as Steve Johnson of the Orange County Breakers battle the Bryan brothers of the Las Vegas Rollers. It's World Team Tennis on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports Network.
CBS Spectacular, yeah!
Thanks for being with us, everybody. The DA Show available in podcast form. Tomorrow, we will do Little Giants as part of Mothership at the Movies. So stick around for that. And listen to us in podcast form. Anything you may have missed or want to hear again on demand, simply search The DA Show on any podcast platform. Subscribe and rate us, won't you? Two cool things this morning in MLS. The New England Revolution are playing at the MLS is Back tournament. And for MLS, because they're playing in Orlando, they have had to play either morning matches or late matches. And so they're avoiding the heat and humidity of Orlando middle of the day in July and August. So New England is playing Toronto FC. The Revs are playing Toronto FC. Full disclosure, I used to work for New England as the sideline reporter for the New England Revolution's television broadcast for 3 seasons. So I know a lot of the people inside that organization. What a fun time that was for me. And they're playing right now. So we've had morning soccer here in the States for the last couple of weeks, and that'll continue. And then they'll play more matches later on tonight. Atlanta plays Columbus tonight, and Montreal plays DC United. That's an 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern and a 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. So for these matches, the Revs have opened up Gillette Stadium, home of the Patriots as well, and invited fans to tailgate and watch on the big screen. So, Mraz, how cool is this? They've got tons of cars driving into Gillette Stadium. People are waking up early or going there late at night, and they're setting up their tailgate, and they're grilling, and they're drinking, and they're having a good time and watching the game that's being played in Orlando on the Jumbotron big screens at the stadium. This is awesome.
That is a really, really cool event. How do they get, so you're not talking about the lot, like in the stadium? They're opening up like you could get in the stadium.
Yeah, they're
so they lay down whatever would be over the turf or under the turf, whatever kind of material you would need.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, man, to park your car and look up and know that you're on that field and you're watching the game, kind of having, a drive-in movie, but sports-wise. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great idea, and I think other teams and leagues and franchises should look into something like that. Because, look, even if you're somebody who prefers sitting on the couch and watching a game, ultimately, we've sat on the couch for 4 months. If you can find and make a night out of it, and maybe that's your version of going to a game this year, and this is how they're doing it for the Revs, I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. I went to my hometown as a drive-in movie theater. There's only 300 drive-in movie theaters left in America. We've got one of them, and it's been there since the 50s. And it has become the most popular place in town because everybody's just looking for anything to do outside. And so it's socially distanced. You have to park your cars more than 6 feet away. But it's outdoors. You pop out, your lawn chair, and you sit outside on a beautiful summer night. You have a Coke, you have your popcorn, and you watch a movie outdoors. I wanted to go because they were playing one of my favorite films from growing up, The Goonies, on the big screen, which is an 80s film that I never got to see in the theaters or on a drive-in. So I went last Thursday night, and it was so much fun. Me and the Bourbon Bell went, and my brother and sister went, and we just had such a good time sitting outside, beautiful night, having a Coke and some popcorn and some candy and watching some big screen TV on an outdoor movie theater. It was awesome. And so, but doing that for sports is even better. I would love to be tailgating, watching some of this stuff that's going on, sports-wise is great. And the president of the Revs, who I also follow on Twitter, tweeted that for his breakfast tailgate, he dropped by Dunkin' Donuts and he says, they sell a bag of bacon. He showed a bag of bacon that he bought from Dunkin'. Are you aware of this?
I did a bag of bacon. No, and I'm a Dunkin' frequenter. I'm a big fan of their green tea. And look, if I can get my hands on a chocolate glazed donut, sneak it in the car before Danielle knows and I've gotten home, that's a big move for me. If I know I could sneak a bag of bacon down the old throat on the way home and go, I don't know how I gained weight. I think that is exactly the kind of thing I need to investigate. That might be more of a New England thing. I don't recall ever seeing that in the menu, unless this is like In-N-Out Burger and they got an off-menu item. You know how you kind of order the animal style, the secret menu. Does Dunkin' have a secret menu that involves bag o' bacon?
I am going to send you this tweet because I want to know what you think about a bag o' bacon. So.
All right. Where are we sending it? G-Chat, the email? We might as well talk about this on the air. Twitter.
I'm going to send it to G-Chat so you can check this out during the show.
Gotcha.
All right, standing by with our headlines right now is dessert coordinator and bag o' bacon fiend, Brad Heller. Heller, good morning.
All right, good morning, DA. Good morning, Mraz. This report sponsored by Geico. Geico's introduced the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers that lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility. With all rookies reporting to NFL training camps by today, the League and the Players Association cleared a big hurdle with the COVID-19 testing protocols. Players will be tested every day for the first 2 weeks of camp. After that, if the positive test rate for players, coaches, and staff is below 5%, it'll move to every other day. And the NFL is also proposing no preseason games, something the players have been asking for all along. Well, the NBA bubble, that's been working so far. 346 players tested in the last week and no positive tests. LeBron James on what life is like inside.
Everyone keeps asking me how is the bubble or how's it going. I just say it's 2020. Nothing is normal in 2020. Nothing seems as is. And who knows if it will ever go back to the way it was. Who knows? But you make the adjustments and you figure it out along the way. That's what life is all about. Life throws you curveballs sometimes, and it's how you not only approach it, but how you appreciate it as well.
The seeding games for the NBA 10 days away, a week from Thursday. Lakers Clippers up first, along with the Jazz and the Pelicans. Gabe Kapler, the first manager to take a knee for the national anthem. He joined some of his Giants players before the exhibition game against the A's last night. Kapler said he wasn't sure how often he would be doing it. The Pirates confirmed they are talking to the Blue Jays about sharing PNC Park in Pittsburgh for home games. The two teams, their home schedules only overlap for 7 games. The Jays are also looking at their AAA facility in Buffalo, but the players prefer a Major League park. Toronto's first home game is scheduled for July 29th. And now.
Woohoo!
Brad set up the best there.
It doesn't take much to surprise this bouncing baby boy.
This is honestly the most stunned I have ever been on the show to a news.
The DA show is stunned to a news.
feel like I'm always ending up in Florida with these stories, but not today.
Don't we all?
Today we go to Idaho. A man named David Rush who promotes STEM education by breaking a bunch of Guinness World Records, a lot of random world records. He's